Harry Potter survived Fiendfyre as a baby and gained control over all flames. Chapter 1, Ignition. The flame danced in Harry Potter's palm, casting flickering shadows across the cramped walls of the cupboard under the stairs. He'd been doing this for as long as he could remember. Calling the fire. Shaping it. Making it his. The Dursleys had their television and their car and their perfectly normal life. Harry had this. The flame twisted into a tiny serpent, coiled around his fingers, then dissolved into sparks that winked out before touching the thin mattress beneath him. Couldn't risk burn marks. Aunt Petunia had already beaten him with a frying pan the last time she'd found scorched fabric in his cupboard. That had been 3 years ago. He'd been 8, still learning control. He was 11 now. The fire listened better. Through the thin door, he heard Uncle Vernon's thunderous snoring from upstairs, the wheeze and rumble that shook the whole house. Dudley's room was directly above him. Harry could feel the faint warmth of the heating vent that kept his cousin comfortable while Harry shivered through winters with nothing but a threadbare blanket. Except he didn't shiver. Not really. Not anymore. Harry closed his fist, extinguishing the flame, and lay back on his mattress. Tomorrow was Dudley's birthday. The zoo trip. He'd have to be invisible, forgettable, perfectly ordinary. He was very good at pretending to be ordinary. But sometimes, like when Aunt Marge's cigarette had exploded in her face last Christmas, or when that gang of Dudley's friends had cornered him behind the school and suddenly found their shoes literally on fire, sometimes the pretending slipped. Harry smiled in the darkness. He couldn't wait to stop pretending entirely. The letter came 3 days later. Harry watched from the kitchen doorway as Uncle Vernon's face cycled through colors like a malfunctioning traffic light, red to purple to white to purple again. Aunt Petunia made a sound like a stepped-on cat. "What is it?" Dudley demanded through a mouthful of bacon. "Nothing," Vernon snarled. "Junk mail. Absolute rubbish." He tore the letter to pieces and threw it in the bin. But Harry had seen the address. Mr. H. Potter, the cupboard under the stairs. Someone knew. Someone was watching. More letters came. Dozens. Hundreds. The Dursleys boarded up the mail slot, burned the letters in the fireplace. Harry felt each one ignite, felt the paper curl and blacken, and something in the flames whispered to him. Soon. Soon. They fled to a hut on a rock in the middle of the sea on the night before Harry's 11th birthday. He sat on the floor, watching the dying embers in the pathetic fireplace, and waited. The door exploded inward at midnight. Harry didn't flinch. The fire had told him someone was coming. Something massive and warm and magical. He didn't have a word for it yet, but he would. The giant filled the doorway, rain streaming off his massive coat. "Sorry 'bout that," the giant said cheerfully, lifting the door and jamming it back into place. His beetle-black eyes found Harry immediately. "There ya are. Last time I saw you, ya were just a baby. Got your mum's eyes." Vernon emerged from the back room waving a rifle. "I demand that you leave at once. You're breaking and entering." The giant grabbed the barrel and twisted it into a pretzel. "Dry up, Dursley." He turned back to Harry, beaming. "Anyway, Harry. Happy birthday. Got summit for ya." He pulled out a slightly squashed cake box. Harry stared at the giant, at the ruined rifle, at the Dursleys cowering in their nightclothes. "Who are you?" "Name's Hagrid. Keeper of keys and grounds at Hogwarts." Hagrid paused expectantly. Harry waited. Yeah, don't know about Hogwarts." "Should I?" Hagrid's expression darkened. He turned to the Dursleys with something close to murder in his eyes. "Do ye mean ter tell me that this boy, knows nothin' aboot anythin'?" Petunia's voice was brittle. "We swore we'd stamp it out of him. That freakishness, stamp it out. Stamp it out." Hagrid's roar shook the walls. "He's a wizard, rotten old prune. And not just any wizard, he's Harry Potter." Harry stood. A wizard. The word settled into him like a key sliding into a lock. You're a wizard, Harry, Hagrid said, more gently now. And a thumpin' good one, I'd wager, once Yevie had some training. Harry looked down at his hands. At the faint warmth that lived beneath his skin, always present, always waiting. That explains some things. I imagine it does. Hagrid squinted at him. Yeah, Don, seem surprised. I'm not. Harry held up his palm. A ball of fire blossomed into existence, hovering an inch above his skin, orange and gold, perfectly controlled, giving off heat but not burning him. I've always been able to do this. I just didn't know what it was called. Hagrid's mouth fell open. The fire reflected in his beetle-black eyes as he whispered, "Blimey." Diagon Alley was overwhelming in the best way. Harry walked beside Hagrid through the crowded street, and every flame within 50 meters pulsed in his awareness. The torches on shop fronts. The fires beneath cauldrons in the apothecary. The heat of a glassblower's forge in a side alley. Warming charms on dozens of wizards and witches going about their business. He could feel those too, different from real fire but connected, somehow. It was like being able to hear for the first time after a lifetime of silence. Gringotts first, Hagrid said, steering him toward a massive white building. Get your money. The goblins didn't intimidate Harry. The goblin who led them to his vault didn't seem to know what to make of him, kept glancing back with suspicious, calculating eyes. When the vault door opened and Harry saw the small mountain of gold inside, he simply nodded. This was my parents' money. Some of it. This is your trust vault. The Potter family vault is, somewhat larger. You'll get access when you're of age. Harry pocketed a reasonable amount of gold and followed Hagrid back to the cart. The ride was exhilarating. Hagrid turned green. Harry laughed. Yevie got a strange sense of fun, Hagrid groaned. Maybe. They emerged into the sunlight, and Hagrid handed Harry a long shopping list. Right. Robes first, then books, then, I need to see a man about a thing. Won't take long. You'll be all right. Harry nodded. Meet me at the Leaky Cauldron in 2 hours, yeah. And stay on the main street. Don't go wandering. Harry watched Hagrid disappear into the crowd, then looked down at his list. He had no intention of staying on the main street. Nocturne Alley branched off from Diagon like a diseased limb. Harry felt the difference immediately, darker fire here. Cursed flames, bound flames, flames that screamed silently in their prisons of enchanted glass and runic metal. He shouldn't be here. He knew that. He walked deeper anyway. The shops pressed close, displaying merchandise that would have made Aunt Petunia faint. Shrunken heads. Blood-stained playing cards. A jar of eyeballs that tracked his movement as he passed. Harry stopped in front of a narrow storefront. Borgin and Burke's, purveyors of antiquities. Inside the window, half hidden behind a display of cursed jewelry, sat a crystal sphere the size of a grapefruit. The sphere contained Fiendfyre. Harry knew this without understanding how he knew. The dark flames inside the crystal writhed endlessly, serpentine shapes forming and dissolving, hungry and hateful and beautiful. They cast no light, if anything, they seemed to drink light from their surroundings. As Harry watched, the flames pressed against their prison. Reaching for him. He stepped closer. Placed his palm against the shop window. The Fiendfyre went absolutely still. Then it began to spiral, not randomly, but in patterns. Complex patterns. Like a language. The shop door burst open. A stooped, oily-haired man rushed out, face twisted in fury and fear. Get away from that. You, he stopped. Stared at Harry. Specifically, at Harry's forehead. Merlin's beard, he breathed. Potter. The fire, Harry said quietly. In the sphere. What is it? You shouldn't, that is, I don't, Borgin licked his lips. It's not for sale. Nothing to concern you. Please, Mr. Potter, if you would move along, I'm not going to buy it. I just want to know what it is. Borgin's eyes darted to the window, to the Fiendfyre that was still oriented entirely toward Harry. That's a containment sample. Extremely dark magic. The cursed flame, it destroys everything it touches. Except the container, obviously, which cost more galleons than you're carrying. Fiendfyre. Yes. How did you? Never mind. Please, Mr. Potter. This street isn't safe for someone like you. If you require legitimate antiquities, I'm sure. Harry tuned him out. He was watching the fire. Feeling it. It felt like coming home. He turned and walked away, leaving Borgin sputtering behind him. But he didn't forget the sensation. The recognition. The flames that knew him before he knew them. Ollivander's was his last stop. The shop was dim and dusty, filled with floor-to-ceiling shelves of long narrow boxes. Harry's fire sense picked up nothing, no heat sources at all, which was strange. Even a building this old should have some warmth. Good afternoon. Harry didn't jump. He'd felt the old man approaching, not his heat, but something else. A presence. Ancient and strange. Mr. Potter. Ollivander emerged from the shadows, silvery eyes wide and unblinking. I wondered when I'd be seeing you. It seems only yesterday your mother and father were in here, buying their first wands. He moved closer. Uncomfortably close. Your mother favored willow. 10¼ inches. Swishy. Good for charm work. His eyes dropped to Harry's forehead. Your father, on the other hand, preferred mahogany. 11 inches. Pliable. Excellent for transfiguration. And then there's the wand that gave you that scar. The man who killed my parents. Yes. 13½ inches. You. Powerful. And I'm sorry to say I sold that wand. Ollivander's voice was soft. Sometimes, Mr. Potter, I wonder if I've done more evil than good, selling wands to those who would misuse them. Harry said nothing. He wasn't here for philosophy. Ollivander seemed to shake himself. Well, then. Let's see what chooses you. He began pulling boxes from shelves, movements precise despite his age. Try this. Beechwood and dragon heartstring. 9 inches. Harry took the wand. Waved it. The wand burst into flames. Ollivander snatched it back, beating out the fire with his sleeve. No, no. Not that one. He was staring at Harry differently now. Try this. Maple and phoenix feather. 7 inches. The same thing happened. The wand ignited the moment Harry grasped it. 12 wands later, Ollivander had scorch marks all over his robes and hands, and a pile of charred wood sat smoking on his counter. Remarkable, he whispered. Truly remarkable. I've never. He trailed off. His eyes went distant. Wait here. He disappeared into the back of the shop for nearly 5 minutes. When he returned, he was carrying a single box, older than the others, the wood dark with age. I wonder, Ollivander murmured, lifting the lid. I truly wonder. The wand inside was beautiful. Pale holly wood, elegant proportions, practically glowing with power. Harry reached for it. The moment his fingers touched the handle, the shop exploded with light. Golden fire erupted from the wand tip, spiraling around Harry like a living thing, warm and welcoming and right. The boxes on their shelves rattled. The windows shook. Ollivander staggered back, throwing an arm over his eyes. And then it was done. The light faded. The fire subsided into Harry's palm before winking out entirely. The wand hummed in his grip, content. Curious, Ollivander breathed. How very, very curious. What is? I remember every wand I've ever sold, Mr. Potter. Every single one. The phoenix whose tail feather resides in your wand gave another feather, just one other. It is very curious indeed that you should be destined for this wand, when its brother gave you that scar. Harry looked down at the wand. At his hand. The wand that murdered my parents has a brother, he said flatly. Yes. Ollivander seemed almost excited. I think we can expect great things from you, Mr. Potter. After all, he who must not be named did great things. Terrible, yes, but great. Harry met the old man's silvery eyes. I intend to. The Hogwarts Express was chaos and noise and 1,000 fires burning in his awareness, the engine, the warming charms, the lit compartments, the sparks from spellwork as students showed off to their friends. Harry found an empty compartment near the back and settled in with a book from Flourish and Blot's, Theorems of Elemental Magics. 20 minutes into the journey, the door slid open. Anyone sitting there? A red-headed boy pointed at the seat across from Harry. Everywhere else is full. Go ahead. The boy flopped down with a relieved sigh. I'm Ron. Ron Weasley. Harry Potter. Ron's eyes went wide. His gaze flicked to Harry's forehead. Blimey. You're really, do you have the scar? Yes. Can I see? Harry lifted his fringe briefly, then dropped it. There. Wicked. Ron leaned back, visibly trying to play it cool. My brothers said you might be on the train. Fred and George, Twins. They said they saw you at the station but figured it wasn't really you because you were. I dunno, normal-sized. Harry snorted. Were they expecting something different? I think they thought you'd be 10 feet tall and breathing fire or something. Harry kept his expression neutral. That would be inconvenient. Yeah. Ron grinned. Hey, want to see my rat? He's rubbish, but he's mine. By the time the lunch trolley arrived, Harry had decided he liked Ron Weasley. The boy was unpolished and slightly insecure, youngest of 6 brothers, inherited everything secondhand, felt perpetually overlooked, but he was genuine. No agenda, no angle. Just a kid trying to make a friend. Harry bought enough candy for both of them. You didn't have to, I wanted to. Harry tossed Ron a chocolate frog. I've never had wizard candy before. Ron caught it, looking conflicted for only a moment before hunger won out. Okay, but next time it's on me. Once I've got some money, Deal. The compartment door slid open again. A bushy-haired girl with large front teeth stood in the doorway, a nervous-looking round-faced boy behind her. Have either of you seen a toad? Neville's lost one. Ron shook his head. No toads here. Oh. The girl's eyes landed on the pile of candy wrappers. Are those chocolate frog cards? My parents are dentists, so I've never been allowed much candy, but I've read that the cards are collectible. I'm Harry, Harry interrupted. This is Ron. You're welcome to sit if you want. The girl blinked. Oh. Yes. I'm Hermione Granger. And this is Neville Longbottom. She bustled inside, Neville trailing reluctantly behind. I've read all about you, Harry. You're in modern magical history and the rise and fall of the dark arts and great wizarding events of the 20th century. Am I? You defeated you-know-who when you were only a baby. There's an entire chapter about the night my parents died. Hermione's mouth snapped shut. Her cheeks flushed. She swallowed. I'm sorry. I didn't mean, that was insensitive. It's fine. Harry's voice was even. I just prefer not to be reminded that the worst night of my life is a chapter in someone's history book. Silence filled the compartment. Neville cleared his throat weakly. My gran told me about your parents. Said they were good people. Thanks. Your mum knew my mum, I think. Before. Neville trailed off. His round face had gone pale. Before what? Ron asked. Nothing. Just, nothing. Neville stared at his shoes. Harry filed that away for later. The compartment door slammed open a third time. A pale blonde boy stood in the doorway, flanked by two large thuggish boys who looked like they'd been carved from potatoes. Is it true? The blonde demanded. They're saying Harry Potter is in this compartment. Yeah, Harry said. That's me. The blonde looked him over like he was examining merchandise. I'm Malfoy. Draco Malfoy. Ron made a sound that might have been a suppressed laugh. Draco's attention snapped to him. Think my name's funny, do you? Red hair and a hand-me-down robe, you must be a Weasley. He turned back to Harry. You'll soon find that some wizarding families are better than others, Potter. You don't want to go making friends with the wrong sort. I can help you there. He extended his hand. Harry didn't take it. I'm pretty good at figuring out the wrong sort for myself. Draco's face tightened. I'd be careful if I were you, Potter. Unless you're more polite, you'll go the same way as your parents. They didn't know what was good for them either. Something shifted in the compartment. Hermione felt it first, a pressure in the air, like before a thunderstorm. Neville's toad, Trevor, who had apparently been hiding under the seat the whole time, croaked in alarm. The temperature rose. Not obviously, not dramatically. But where it had been comfortably cool a moment ago, now it was warm. And getting warmer. Draco's forehead beaded with sweat. His thuggish companions shifted uncomfortably. Harry hadn't moved. His expression hadn't changed. But his eyes, Draco took a step back. Then another. We're leaving, he said. Come on, Crabbe, Goyle. The three of them retreated. The door slid shut. The temperature returned to normal. Ron was staring at Harry with something between awe and nervousness. What was that? What was what? There was, Ron gestured vaguely at everything. That was you, wasn't it? Harry picked up his book. I don't know what you mean. Hermione and Neville exchanged glances. But neither of them said anything. The Great Hall took Harry's breath away. Not the enchanted ceiling, though that was impressive. Not the floating candles, though those were beautiful. It was the fire. He could feel every torch on every wall. Every candle above every table. The massive hearth behind the staff table, blazing with enough heat to warm the entire cavernous space. The fire in the kitchens below, cooking the feast. The dragon fire enchantments that powered certain older magical instruments scattered throughout the castle. Fire everywhere. Calling to him. Welcoming him. He barely heard the Sorting Hat's song. He watched the flames dance instead, feeling them reach for him even from 50 meters away. Potter, Harry. The great hall went silent. Then whispers erupted everywhere. Potter? Did she say Potter? The Harry Potter? Harry walked to the stool, ignoring the stares. Professor McGonagall lowered the hat onto his head. Well, said a voice in his mind. What have we here? Harry kept his mental walls up, something he'd learned to do instinctively, dealing with Aunt Petunia's probing questions and Uncle Vernon's accusations. Defensive, aren't we? The hat sounded amused. Can't say I blame you. You've been through rather a lot. But I need to see inside to sort you, Mr. Potter. Look then. Harry felt the hat's presence sift through his surface thoughts, his impressions of Hogwarts, his new acquaintances, his ambitions. Then the hat went deeper. And found the fire. Oh my. The hat's voice was different now. Quieter. Oh my, oh my, oh my. This is. Mr. Potter, do you know what's inside you? Fire. Not just fire. Not even close to just fire. The hat stopped. Started again. Where do I even begin? Gryffindor, Harry thought deliberately. My parents were Gryffindors. Yes, and you have their courage. But you also have cunning in abundance, and ambition, and a hunger for knowledge about your own nature. Any house would be honored to have you, Mr. Potter. And in any house, you would rise to dominate. Gryffindor. Are you certain? Slytherin could help you on your way to greatness. My parents died fighting dark wizards from Slytherin. I'll honor their memory. The hat was silent for a long moment. Very well. I suspect you'll reshape the house regardless. Best be, Gryffindor. The Gryffindor table erupted. Harry pulled off the hat and walked toward his cheering new housemates. As he passed the staff table, he caught Dumbledore's eye. The old wizard was smiling. But behind those half-moon spectacles, Harry saw calculation. Assessment. He filed that away too. The first month of classes passed in a blur of new experiences and quietly demonstrated competence. Harry excelled. Not flashily, not dramatically, he didn't want more attention than his name already brought. But in every class, his magic came easier than it should have. Transfiguration, his match became a needle before anyone else, and it was the sharpest needle McGonagall had ever seen. Charms, Wingardium Leviosa worked on his first try, his feather shot to the ceiling while others struggled to make theirs twitch. Herbology, less natural talent here, but Professor Sprout appreciated his calm competence. History of magic, he slept like everyone else. And potions. Snape hated him. Harry had known this from the first class, when the hook-nosed professor had called his name with barely concealed disgust and proceeded to interrogate him about ingredients he couldn't possibly have learned yet. Harry had responded politely, accurately, "Thank you, summer reading," and without a trace of the intimidation Snape clearly expected. This only made Snape hate him more. "Potter," Snape called out during their fourth potions class. "What temperature should your cauldron be at this stage of the boil-cure potion?" Harry didn't look up from his work. "Precisely 98 degrees. "And how, pray tell, do you know the temperature of your cauldron precisely?" "I can feel it." Snape's lip curled. "Feel it? How fanciful. Would you like to check, sir?" "I'm confident you'll find it's exactly 98. Snape stalked over. He cast a diagnostic spell over Harry's cauldron. The air shimmered briefly. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his dark eyes. 98 degrees exactly, he admitted. "Though I wonder what unconventional methods you might be using to achieve such precision." "Just good instincts, Professor." Snape held his gaze for a long moment. Then he swept away, robes billowing. Hermione, working at the station beside Harry's, whispered, "How did you know?" Harry stirred his potion clockwise. "Trade secret." She huffed. But she was smiling. The flying lesson changed everything. Harry had been looking forward to this since he'd arrived at Hogwarts. Every other class required restraint, control, the careful hiding of his true abilities. But flying, surely flying was just about flying. "Step up to your broom," Madame Hooch instructed. "Say, up. Up." The word echoed across the training ground. Harry's broom shot into his hand like it had been waiting for him. He gripped the polished wood and felt the enchantments within, heat-based spells for weather resistance, fire-hardened core for durability. The broom liked him. "Now, when I blow my whistle, you'll kick off from the ground." Neville's broom shot skyward. Harry didn't think. He kicked off, rocketing after his classmate with instinct he didn't know he possessed. Below, Madame Hooch was screaming instructions. Above, Neville was spinning out of control, heading for a collision with the castle wall. Harry accelerated. The wind tore at his robes, his hair, his face. He didn't care. 50 feet up. 70. 100. Neville's broom jerked wildly, throwing him off. Harry dove. He caught Neville by the wrist 20 feet from the ground, arresting both their momentums with a maneuver that should have been physically impossible. The broom strained, enchantments flaring hot enough that Harry felt them clearly, and he poured his own energy into them. Strengthening. Stabilizing. They landed gently on the grass. Neville collapsed, shaking, clutching the wrist Harry had grabbed. You saved, are you hurt? No, thank you, Harry Potter. Madame Hooch came sprinting over, face white. That was, I've never seen, how did you do that? Before Harry could answer, Draco Malfoy was there, snatching something from the grass. Oh, look. Draco held up a glass sphere that glowed faintly red. It's that stupid thing Longbottom's grandmother sent him. Neville struggled to his feet. Give it back, Malfoy. I think I'll leave it somewhere for you to find. How about on the roof? Draco mounted his broom, shooting into the air. Harry moved to follow. Mr. Potter. Madame Hooch's hand closed on his shoulder. You will remain on the ground, no. The word was quiet, but something in it made Hooch's hand fall away. Harry kicked off. Draco was hovering 30 feet up, the Remembrall clutched in his fist, a smug grin on his pointed face. Come to play hero, Potter. Give it back. Make me. Harry accelerated. Draco's grin flickered, he hadn't expected that speed, and he hurled the Remembrall toward the castle. Harry didn't chase it. He kept coming straight at Draco, who suddenly realized his broom was getting very, very warm. Draco looked down. Smoke was rising from the wooden handle. What? Harry caught the Remembrall without looking, plucking it from the air behind his back. His momentum carried him directly into Draco's path. Their brooms nearly collided. Draco jerked back, and his hands came off the handle, it was too hot to touch now. He began to slide, to fall. Harry grabbed his collar, holding him steady. The next time you take something that doesn't belong to you, Harry said quietly, your broom won't be the only thing burning. He released Draco and descended smoothly to the ground. Behind him, he heard Malfoy shouting for Crabbe or Goyle, his voice high and frightened. The Gryffindors were cheering. But McGonagall had emerged from the castle, her face a complicated mixture of emotions Harry couldn't quite read. Mr. Potter. Come with me. Harry sat in McGonagall's office, waiting for the explosion. It didn't come. Instead, McGonagall spent a long moment staring at him over her spectacles. Then she said, I've just witnessed you execute a Wronski feint variant that professional seekers spend years perfecting. You also appeared to somehow heat Mr. Malfoy's broom to the point of being untouchable. Would you care to explain? Flying comes naturally to me, Professor. As for the broom, I don't know what you mean. Don't you? Harry met her gaze steadily. McGonagall leaned back. Mr. Potter, I pride myself on recognizing talent. Your father was one of the finest natural flyers I've ever seen, and you may actually surpass him. I should be putting you in detention for violating Madame Hooch's direct instructions. Instead. She picked up a quill. Instead, I'm making you the youngest seeker in a century. Gryffindor team. Practice begins next week. She signed something with a flourish. We will, of course, need to discuss the broom heating incident at some point. But for now, I choose to focus on your considerable gifts rather than your unusual methods. Harry allowed himself a small smile. Thank you, Professor. Don't thank me yet. Wood is a ruthless captain. She handed him the signed paper. And Mr. Potter? Whatever it is you can do, whatever that fire in your eyes represents, be careful. There are those in this castle who would be very interested indeed to know more. Harry nodded and left. He didn't ask who she meant. He had a feeling he already knew. Halloween arrived with a weight Harry felt in his bones. He knew, intellectually, what this day meant. The anniversary of his parents' deaths. The anniversary of whatever had happened in Godric's Hollow. The details remained frustratingly vague, even after weeks of library research. He spent the morning walking the castle grounds, feeling the autumn fires in every hearth and torch. The flames were subdued today, as if in mourning. At lunch, Hermione was missing. Bathroom, Ron said, looking uncomfortable. She's been in there since before classes. I think she's crying. Why? I may have said something about her being a nightmare. She overheard. Harry stared at him. I know. I feel terrible. But she was being so, ugh. Ron buried his face in his hands. I'm an idiot. Yes. You are. Harry stood. Which bathroom? First floor, near the charms corridor. But wait, she probably doesn't want to see anyone. Harry was already walking. He found Hermione in the indicated bathroom, sitting on the floor between the sinks, eyes red and puffy. She looked up when he entered. Harry? You shouldn't be in here, this is the girls'. Ron feels terrible. He should. He does. Harry sat down across from her, back against the wall. He's not good with words when he's frustrated. Says stupid things he doesn't mean. I'm not a nightmare. Her voice cracked. I just want people to like me. I thought if I was helpful, if I knew things, you try too hard. It makes people uncomfortable. Hermione flinched. But that's not a bad thing, Harry continued. You care about doing well. You care about being useful. There are worse qualities to have. You're not very good at comfort. I'm not trying to comfort you. I'm trying to tell you the truth. Harry leaned forward. Ron was wrong to say what he said. You were overwhelming. Both can be true. Hermione was quiet for a long moment. Then, reluctantly, I suppose that's fair. Come to the feast. Sit with us. Ron will apologize, I'll make sure of it, and we'll move on. Just like that. Just like that. Or we can sit here on this very clean floor and feel sorry for ourselves. Your choice. Despite herself, Hermione laughed. You're very strange, Harry Potter. I've been told. The door burst open. For a moment, Harry thought Ron had come to apologize in person. Then the smell hit him, rot and filth and something else, something wrong. The troll filled the doorway. It was enormous. 12 feet tall, gray-skinned, carrying a club the size of a tree trunk. Its tiny eyes fixed on Hermione and Harry, and its mouth opened in a bellow that shook the mirrors. Hermione screamed. Harry moved. He didn't think about it. Didn't plan. One moment he was sitting against the wall, the next he was between Hermione and the troll, his hands raised. The fire came. Not a spell, he hadn't learned any fire spells yet, despite his best efforts. This was something else. Something older. His palms ignited, blazing with orange gold light that wasn't quite flame, burning without burning him. The troll swung its club. Harry thrust his hands forward, and fire erupted in a concentrated stream. It caught the club mid-swing, igniting the wood, forcing the troll to drop its weapon with a howl of pain. Harry didn't stop. He advanced, pushing fire at the creature's face, its chest, its legs. The troll stumbled backward. Its primitive brain understood fire. Understood danger. Harry felt his control slipping. The flames wanted more. They wanted to consume Harry. Hermione's voice cut through the haze. Harry pulled back, closing his fists, extinguishing the fire. The troll collapsed against the wall, smoking but alive. Its club was a charred ruin. The bathroom door was scorched, but intact. Harry turned to Hermione. Are you okay? She was staring at him with wide, wild eyes. How did you do that? The door burst open again. Professors McGonagall, Snape, and Quirrell rushed in. Quirrell immediately squeaked and retreated, and stopped short at the sight before them. The troll, smoking on the ground. Harry Potter, standing over it, hands still slightly glowing. Hermione Granger, pressed against the far wall, very obviously unharmed. What? McGonagall breathed. In Merlin's name, a troll got in, Harry said. I handled it. Handled it? Snape stepped forward, dark eyes fixed on Harry's hands. That was no ordinary magic, Potter. Those flames saved Miss Granger's life, McGonagall interrupted. She was looking at Harry differently now. Calculating, like Dumbledore. 5 points to Gryffindor for sheer dumb luck. And 5 more for exceptional bravery. And the fire? Snape demanded. You're simply going to ignore. I'm going to escort Mr. Potter and Miss Granger to their common room. You're going to ensure this creature is removed from the castle. McGonagall's voice was iron. We will discuss other matters later. Snape looked like he wanted to argue. But he stepped aside, and McGonagall shepherded Harry and Hermione out. Ron was waiting in the corridor, face white. Harry. Hermione. I wanted to, but then McGonagall, it's handled, Harry said. Your hands were on fire, I know. Ron opened and closed his mouth several times. Finally, okay. That was, okay. Hermione touched Harry's arm. What you did back there, that wasn't normal magic, was it? Harry looked at his hands. Normal, now. No glow, no heat beyond the usual warmth that lived beneath his skin. No, he admitted. It wasn't. I want to know more. So do I. Harry smiled faintly. Help me research. Hermione's eyes lit up despite everything. Obviously. Ron groaned. Oh no. You two are going to be insufferable together, aren't you? Probably, Harry said. Definitely, Hermione agreed. And despite the troll and the terror and the questions hanging over them, all 3 of them laughed. That night, Harry stood alone in the Gryffindor common room. It was well past midnight. The fire had burned down to embers, the other students long since gone to bed. Harry reached out with his senses, feeling those dying coals, and called to them. The flames rose. Not dramatically, he kept them low, controlled. But they responded to his will, growing and shrinking as he directed. Dancing in patterns. Forming shapes. He focused. Concentrated. A small bird of fire took shape above the hearth. It spread its wings, circled the common room once, and dissolved into sparks that faded before reaching the carpet. Harry exhaled slowly. He was getting better. More controlled. But there was so much he didn't understand, why he could do this, what the limits were, what had made him this way. Fiendfyre. The word from Borgin's shop. He needed to learn more about that night. About what Voldemort had done. About what had been done to him. A sound made him turn. Through the window, across the courtyard, he could see a face watching him. A blonde girl in Slytherin colors, standing in one of the corridor windows, perfectly still. Daphne Greengrass. She'd seen him. Seen the fire. Harry held her gaze. After a moment, she inclined her head slightly, acknowledgement, not threat, and withdrew into the shadows. Interesting. Harry turned back to the fire. The flames leaned toward him like eager dogs, awaiting his command. He had so much to learn. So much to discover. And he was only getting started. Deep beneath the castle, in the forbidden corridor, something else stirred. Professor Quirrell stood before a massive mirror, whispering to himself. Or rather, whispering to the thing that lived in the back of his skull. The boy is stronger than we anticipated, Master. Then we adapt. The voice was cold. Hungry. The Potter boy carries my fire. I felt it when he killed the troll. He has taken what I created and made it his own. What shall we do? Nothing, for now. Let him grow stronger. Let him believe he is safe. The voice twisted with dark amusement. And when the time comes, we will take back what belongs to us. Quirrell shuddered. But he nodded. In the mirror behind him, Voldemort's face smiled. And in the castle above, every torch flickered once, then burned steady once more. Chapter 2, Combustion. The morning after Halloween, Harry woke to find himself famous all over again. Not Boy Who Lived famous, that was old news at Hogwarts. This was different. This was Saw Harry Potter Shoot Fire from His Hands famous, which apparently hit different when you were 11 and surrounded by gossiping teenagers. Is it true your hands actually caught fire? A second-year Gryffindor asked at breakfast. Did you really burn a troll to death? Someone else chimed in. I heard you melted it into a puddle. The troll's fine, Harry said, loading his plate with eggs. Unconscious, but fine. Ron leaned over. You know, saying that makes you sound more impressive, right? You beat a troll without killing it. I wasn't trying to kill it. Just stop it. Right. With fire. From your hands. Totally normal. Ron grinned. Mate, you're mental and I love it. Hermione, sitting across from them with a stack of books, looked up. I've been researching all night. There's no spell that produces flames from the caster's body without a wand. At least, not in any book available to first years. Maybe it's a Potter family thing, Ron suggested. Secret magical bloodline ability? The Potters were a prominent family, but there's no record of pyrokinetic abilities. Hermione flipped through one of her books. I checked. Of course you did. Harry ate his breakfast and watched the Great Hall. Students whispered and pointed. Some looked impressed. Others, mostly Slytherins, looked calculating or hostile. At the staff table, Dumbledore was watching him over his goblet. When their eyes met, the headmaster smiled and raised his cup slightly. Harry didn't smile back. Snape, beside Dumbledore, wasn't bothering to hide his scowl. And Quirrell kept darting nervous glances toward the Gryffindor table before looking away quickly whenever Harry noticed. You've got fans, Ron observed. I've got attention I don't want. Too late for that. Hermione closed her book. Harry, what you did yesterday, people are going to ask questions. Professors especially. You should have answers ready. I'll figure it out. That's not a plan, it's the only one I've got. Harry stood, grabbing his bag. Come on. We've got Transfiguration. As they left the Great Hall, Harry felt eyes tracking his movement. The weight of scrutiny, curiosity, fear. He'd felt safer when people just thought he was lucky. The summons came 3 days later. Harry found a note in his bag after charms. Please join me in my office this evening at 7. Password, Acid Pops. Albus Dumbledore. Ron read it over his shoulder. That's either really good or really bad. It's Dumbledore wanting to talk about Halloween. Harry pocketed the note. Could go either way. You think he's mad about the fire thing? I think he's curious. Which might be worse. Hermione frowned. Dumbledore's the headmaster, Harry. He's trying to help you. Maybe. Harry slung his bag over his shoulder. Guess I'll find out tonight. Dumbledore's office was accessible via a stone gargoyle that leapt aside when Harry gave the password. The spiral staircase beyond rose up into shadows, and Harry climbed it with his senses extended. Heat sources everywhere, enchanted instruments, a phoenix perch, empty, warming charms woven into the very walls. The door at the top was already open. Ah, Harry. Dumbledore rose from behind his desk, gesturing to a chintz armchair. Please, sit. Lemon drop? No thank you, sir. Are you certain? They're quite good. I'm certain. Dumbledore's eyes twinkled, but he didn't push. He settled back into his chair, fingers steepled. I imagine you know why I asked you here. Halloween. Indeed. Quite the display, from what Minerva tells me. A mountain troll subdued by a first-year student using unconventional magic. Harry waited. I wonder, Dumbledore continued, if you might tell me about this magic. Where you learned it, perhaps. I didn't learn it anywhere. It just happened. Just happened. Dumbledore's tone was light, but something flickered behind his half-moon spectacles. Magic, especially magic of that caliber, rarely just happens, Harry. It does for me. Since when? Since always. The silence stretched. Harry felt Dumbledore's presence pressing against his mind, not violently, but definitely there. A gentle probe, like someone testing a door to see if it was locked. Harry thought about fire. About heat. About the feeling of standing too close to a forge. Dumbledore blinked and withdrew slightly. A clemency, the headmaster murmured. Or something like it. Fascinating. Is that all, Professor? Not quite. Dumbledore leaned forward. Harry, you have remarkable gifts. Gifts that, in the wrong hands or used unwisely, could be dangerous. To yourself and others. I'm aware. Are you? You're 11 years old. Forgive me, but 11-year-olds are not typically known for their restraint or judgment. Harry met his gaze steadily. I've had a lot of practice with restraint, sir. 10 years living with people who hated me taught me when to use my abilities and when to hide them. I haven't hurt anyone who didn't deserve it. I don't plan to start. And who decides who deserves it? I do. Dumbledore's expression shifted. The grandfatherly warmth faded, replaced by something cooler. More assessing. That, he said quietly, is precisely what concerns me. With respect, Headmaster, I didn't ask for your concern. I came to Hogwarts to learn. I'm doing that. I'm following the rules, mostly, and I'm not causing trouble. You burned a student's broom. Draco Malfoy was bullying Neville Longbottom and destroying his property. I stopped him. By using magic that could have caused him to fall to his death. But didn't. I caught him. This time. Dumbledore stood, moving to the window. His back was to Harry, hands clasped behind him. Harry, I knew your parents. They were remarkable people. Your mother especially, her capacity for love, for sacrifice, it saved your life that night in Godric's Hollow. Harry said nothing. I worry, Dumbledore continued, that the very qualities that make you powerful might also make you isolated. Alone. Magic like yours, fire magic, primal and untaught, it can consume more than your enemies, Harry. It can consume you. Is that what happened to Voldemort? Dumbledore turned sharply. Harry stood. You're worried I'll end up like him. Dark wizard, drunk on power, hurting people. That's what this is about. I'm worried you'll make choices without guidance. I have guidance. I have friends. I have professors. What I don't need is someone watching over my shoulder, waiting for me to snap. Harry moved toward the door. I'm not Voldemort. I'm not going to become him. And if that's all you wanted to say, I have homework. Harry, was there something else, Professor? Dumbledore studied him for a long moment. Then, softly, be careful, Harry. Power is seductive. And the line between protection and domination is thinner than you might think. I'll keep that in mind. Harry descended the spiral staircase, heart pounding. Behind him, he felt Dumbledore's magical presence, enormous, ancient, complex, watching until he was out of range. Only then did he let himself shake. That hadn't been a friendly chat. That had been a warning. And maybe a test. Harry wasn't sure if he'd passed or failed. He threatened you. Ron's voice was too loud. Several students in the common room looked over. Not threatened. Just, made his position clear. Harry kept his voice low. He's worried I'm dangerous. You are dangerous, Hermione pointed out. She was curled in an armchair with a book, but her attention was fully on Harry. You subdued a troll on your first try using magic that doesn't exist in any curriculum. From Dumbledore's perspective, I'm a weapon he doesn't control. I was going to say, a student who needs guidance, but yes, essentially. Ron scowled. That's dodgy. You saved Hermione. You stopped Malfoy from being a git. You're not doing anything wrong. I think that's what worries him. Harry stared into the common room fireplace. The flames leaned toward him, as always. I'm not asking permission. I'm just doing what I think is right and dealing with consequences later. Sounds reasonable to me, Ron said. Sounds reckless, Hermione countered. Harry, I'm not saying Dumbledore's right, but he has a point. You're powerful. Really powerful. And you're 11. Maybe having someone help you learn control isn't the worst thing. I have control. Do you? The fire in the hearth flared suddenly, flames jumping a foot higher. Harry closed his eyes. Breathed. The flames subsided. Point taken, he muttered. Hermione's expression softened. I'm not trying to lecture. I'm just worried. You're my friend, Harry. I don't want you getting hurt because you pushed too hard. I won't. You don't know that. Neither do you. They stared at each other. Ron cleared his throat. Right. So. Anyone else starving? Because I'm thinking we sneak down to the kitchens. We are not sneaking to the kitchens, Hermione said. I am absolutely sneaking to the kitchens. Then you're doing it without me. Ron looked at Harry hopefully. Harry sighed. Fine. But if we get caught, this was your idea. Ron grinned. Deal. The library became Harry's refuge over the next few weeks. He couldn't practice fire magic openly, not after Dumbledore's warning, not with the whole school watching, so he researched instead. Hermione helped, though she drew the line at checking out books from the restricted section. We'd need a professor's signature, she whispered, eyeing the roped-off shelves. And somehow I don't think Harry wants to learn about dangerous fire magic would get approved. Probably not. Harry scanned the available titles. Magical Theory. A History of Elemental Magic. Ancient Runes and Their Applications. Nothing specifically about Fiendfyre. Nothing about fire bonding with wizards. There's got to be something, he muttered. Not in the student section. Hermione pulled down a thick volume. But I found this, Elemental Affinities in Magical Bloodlines. It talks about families who have natural talents for certain types of magic. The Blacks with dark curses. The Weasleys with charm work. Maybe the Potters had something similar. Harry took the book. Flipped through it. The chapter on fire magic was disappointingly brief. Wizards with fire affinity could cast flame spells more easily and with greater control. Some families, mostly extinct now, had been known for creating eternal flames or forging weapons with fire enchantments. But nothing about becoming fire. Nothing about absorbing it, controlling it without a wand, feeling every flame within 100 meters. Dead end, Harry said. Maybe not. Hermione pointed at a footnote. Look. It references another book, Primal Magic and Its Practitioners. Says it was restricted after the Grindelwald Wars, but it might still be in the archives. The restricted section. Yes. Harry closed the book. Then I'll come back for it later. Harry, I'm not asking you to break rules, Hermione. I'm just saying I need that book. And I'll get it. She looked conflicted. Finally, be careful. Always am. Ron, who'd been napping in a nearby chair, stirred. Are we breaking rules? Because if so, count me in. We're not breaking rules, Hermione said firmly. I'm breaking rules, Harry clarified. You two have plausible deniability. Ron grinned. My favorite kind. That night, Harry waited until the common room was empty, then pulled out the invisibility cloak Hagrid had given him for Christmas, early, because Hagrid was terrible at keeping secrets. The cloak was incredible. Silvery, weightless, and completely concealing. Harry had tested it extensively, and not even Mrs. Norris could detect him while wearing it. Perfect for midnight library trips. The castle at night was different. Colder. The fires burned lower, and shadows stretched long across stone floors. Harry moved silently through corridors, past snoring portraits and suits of armor, until he reached the library entrance. Madame Pants was gone. The library was dark, lit only by moonlight through tall windows. Harry slipped inside and made his way to the restricted section. The rope barrier was more symbolic than practical. Harry stepped over it easily and began scanning spines. The books here were different, older, bound in leather and scales and materials he couldn't identify. Some whispered. Others hummed with contained power. Primal magic and its practitioners. There. Third shelf from the top. Harry reached for it, a hand closed around his wrist. Harry spun, free hand rising instinctively, heat building beneath his palm. The invisibility cloak slipped, exposing his face. A girl stood there. Blonde. Green eyes. Slytherin robes. Daphne Greengrass. Relax, Potter, she whispered. I'm not going to rat you out. Harry lowered his hand but didn't step back. What are you doing here? Same as you. Looking for answers. She glanced at the book he'd been reaching for. Primal Magic. Interesting choice. How long have you been following me? I haven't. I was already here. Daphne pulled a book from a lower shelf, Political Histories of the Sacred 28. Some of us have our own research to do. Though I admit, seeing you sneak into the restricted section is more entertaining than reading about blood politics. Harry studied her. You saw me. In the common room. The night after Halloween. I saw fire that moved like it was alive. Fire that obeyed you. Daphne's expression was neutral. Calculating. That's not normal magic, Potter. Are you going to tell anyone? Why would I? Your secrets aren't my business. She paused. Unless you want to make them my business. Meaning? Meaning I know things you don't. About this school. About the families who run the wizarding world. About politics and power and how to navigate both. Daphne stepped closer. And you have abilities I've never seen before. Abilities that could be very useful. I'm not looking for a partnership. No. Then what are you looking for in the restricted section at midnight? Information. Same thing. Daphne pulled the book Harry had been reaching for and handed it to him. Here. Consider it a gesture of good faith. Harry took it warily. Why help me? Because you're interesting, Potter. And in my experience, interesting people either become allies or enemies. I prefer allies. She collected her own book and turned to leave. If you want to talk, and I think you will, find me in the library during lunch tomorrow. East corner, 7th table. I'll be alone. She vanished into the shadows between shelves. Harry stood there for a moment, processing. Then he looked down at the book in his hands. Primal Magic and its Practitioners. He opened it carefully. The pages were yellowed, the text handwritten in elegant script. The first chapter was titled, The Nature of Elemental Binding. Harry began to read. Primal magic, the book explained, differs from learned magic in fundamental ways. Where traditional wizardry involves channeling external magical forces through focus and will, primal magic is innate. Elemental. The practitioner does not cast fire, they are fire, in a metaphysical sense. This binding typically occurs through trauma, accident, or deliberate ritual. Historical accounts suggest fewer than a dozen verified cases of elemental binding in the last 1,000 years. Most ended in the practitioner's death. Fire, being the most volatile element, proved particularly lethal. Those who survived often exhibited characteristics of their element: immunity to heat, the ability to sense and manipulate flames, and in rare cases, spontaneous combustion during emotional distress. The most famous case was Merlin himself, who allegedly bound himself to all 4 elements through unknown means. This granted him unparalleled power but also, according to some texts, contributed to his eventual disappearance. The strain of containing such opposing forces may have literally torn him apart. Harry stopped reading. Elemental binding. Trauma or accident. The night Voldemort killed his parents, something had happened. Something involving fire, Fiendfyre, according to Borgin. Something that had merged with Harry instead of killing him. He kept reading, looking for specifics. For answers. The book offered warnings instead. Primal magic users often struggle with control, especially during adolescence when magical cores expand and mature. Emotions become triggers. Anger ignites literal flames. Fear freezes. Joy can cause uncontrolled surges that damage surroundings and injure bystanders. Training is essential but difficult. Traditional magical education does not account for primal abilities. The practitioner must develop their own methods, their own discipline. Many fail. Those who succeed often isolate themselves, fearing what they might do to loved ones during moments of weakness. Harry closed the book. He wasn't going to isolate himself. He refused. But he needed help. Real help, from someone who understood what he was dealing with. The question was, who? Daphne was waiting at the 7th table the next day, exactly as promised. Harry sat down across from her. Ron and Hermione were at another table, watching with undisguised curiosity. Potter. Daphne closed the book she'd been reading. I wondered if you'd actually show. You have information I want. Direct. I appreciate that. She folded her hands on the table. So. What do you want to know? Everything. How this school really works. Who's connected to who? What happened during the last war? Harry leaned forward. I've spent my whole life ignorant. I'm done being ignorant. That's a tall order. Can you deliver? Daphne smiled. I can. But I want something in return. Obviously. I want to understand what you are. Not to exploit it, I'm not stupid enough to try. But I need to know what I'm dealing with if we're going to work together. We're not working together. We're exchanging information. Semantics. Daphne pulled out a piece of parchment and a quill. Fine. Information exchange. I'll tell you about the political landscape. You tell me about your abilities. Deal. Harry considered. He didn't trust her, not completely. But she'd helped him get that book. And she hadn't told anyone about seeing him use fire magic. Deal. But nothing you learn about me gets shared with anyone else. Agreed. Same goes for what I tell you. They shook hands. Daphne's grip was firm, her skin cool against Harry's perpetual warmth. Right then, she said, settling back. Let's start with the basics. The wizarding world is controlled by about 40 families. The Sacred 28 are the most prominent, all pure blood, all with significant wealth and political influence. My family is one. So are the Malfoys, the Blacks, most of the Slytherin students you see. And they run everything. Through the Ministry, yes. Through business, yes. Through marriage alliances and favors and carefully maintained social hierarchies. Daphne's expression was matter of fact. Your parents fought against this system during the war. They were blood traitors, purebloods who sided with Muggles and Muggleborns. That made them targets. Voldemort killed them. Voldemort was the weapon. But there were plenty of people who pointed him in their direction. She paused. I'm not saying that to hurt you. Just so you understand, your name carries weight, but not all of it is positive. Some families see you as a hero. Others see you as a reminder of everything they lost when Voldemort fell. They supported him. Some did. Most just benefited from the chaos. War creates opportunities if you're ruthless enough to take them. Harry absorbed this. And Dumbledore? Dumbledore is complicated. Daphne chose her words carefully. He's powerful. Probably the most powerful wizard alive. He has political capital, respect, influence. But he's also old. His methods are old. And he has a tendency to treat people like chess pieces. Useful pieces, important pieces, but pieces nonetheless. Meaning? Meaning if you're useful to his cause, whatever that cause is, he'll protect you. But don't expect transparency. Dumbledore keeps his own counsel. That tracked with Harry's experience. Your turn, Daphne said. What did you find in that book last night? Harry hesitated. Then, information about elemental binding. The process of merging with a primal force, fire, in my case. Daphne's eyes widened. You're not just talented at fire magic. You're bound to it. Apparently. How? I don't know. Something that happened when I was a baby. Harry met her gaze. The book said it usually happens through trauma. The night you know who attacked. Yeah. Daphne was quiet for a moment, processing. That's extraordinary. And dangerous. Primal magic users are rare. I've read about maybe 3 in all of wizarding history. They either became incredibly powerful or destroyed themselves. I know. I read that part too. So what are you going to do? Learn control. Figure out my limits. Not destroy myself. Harry said it lightly, but Daphne didn't laugh. You're going to need help. Real help. Not just books. I know. But who? Dumbledore thinks I'm dangerous. Snape hates me. McGonagall is. I don't know. Concerned. None of them understand what I'm dealing with. Then you find someone who does. There isn't anyone. There's always someone. Daphne tapped her quill against the parchment. I'll look into it. Quietly. My family has connections, people who know obscure magic, who study things the ministry doesn't approve of. If there's an expert on primal magic alive, I'll find them. Why help me? I told you. Interesting people make useful allies. Daphne smiled slightly. Plus, you intrigue me, Potter. You're not like the other Gryffindors. You don't charge in blindly. You think. Plan. That's rare. Maybe I'm in the wrong house. Maybe. Or maybe you'll change what it means to be a Gryffindor. Before Harry could respond, Ron appeared at his shoulder. Harry. You need to see this. His tone was urgent. Harry stood immediately. What's wrong? 3rd floor corridor. Someone's been there. And they left. Something. The 3rd floor corridor was supposed to be forbidden. Harry, Ron, and Hermione stood outside the locked door, staring at the deep gouges in the wood. Something with claws had tried to get through. Or get out. That's new, Ron said. Those weren't there last week. How do you know? Hermione demanded. I may have come up here to look around. Ronald Weasley, look, we can argue about rule-breaking later. Right now we need to figure out what made those marks. Harry knelt, examining the gouges. They were deep. Recent. And something about them felt wrong. He pressed his palm against the wood. No heat. The door was cold. Magically cold, like something was actively draining warmth from it. Something's in there, he said. Something that doesn't like fire. How do you know that? Hermione asked. Harry stood. The door's freezing. Whatever is behind it is pulling heat away. Could be a creature. Could be a curse. Ron peered through the keyhole. Can't see anything. We should tell a professor, Hermione said. And say what? We were exploring the forbidden corridor and noticed suspicious scratches. Harry shook his head. They'd just punish us and tell us to stay away. Which we should do anyway. Hermione's right, Ron said reluctantly. This feels big. Dangerous. Harry pressed his hand against the door again. Through the wood, he felt a distant heat source. Large. Angry. Alive. 3 heads. The image came unbidden, a massive dog, 3-headed, breathing hot enough to feel through stone and wood. Fluffy, Harry breathed. What? Hagrid's dog. The 3-headed one. Harry stepped back. He's in there. Guarding something. How do you know? I can feel him. The heat from 3 separate mouths. Ron and Hermione exchanged glances. Okay, Ron said slowly. So Hagrid's monster dog is guarding something in the forbidden corridor. The question is what? And why now? Hermione added. This corridor wasn't forbidden last year. Something changed. Something important enough to lock it behind a giant 3-headed dog. Harry stared at the door. We need to find out what. That's a terrible idea, Hermione said. Probably. We could get expelled. Or killed. Also possible. I'm in, Ron said. Hermione glared at him. You're supposed to be the voice of reason. No, that's your job. I'm the voice of, this sounds mental but let's do it anyway. Ron grinned. Besides, if Harry's going to sneak past a 3-headed dog, someone needs to watch his back. Multiple someones, Harry corrected. I can't do this alone. Hermione looked between them. Her expression cycled through exasperation, concern, and finally resignation. Fine. But we do this carefully. Research first. Planning. No charging in blindly. Deal. And if it looks too dangerous, we tell a professor immediately. Absolutely. Hermione didn't look convinced, but she nodded. They left the corridor together, none of them noticing the shadow that detached from a nearby alcove and slipped away in the opposite direction. November became December. Snow fell over Hogwarts, blanketing the grounds in white. Christmas approached, and most students prepared to leave for the holidays. Harry stayed. Ron stayed with him, his parents were visiting Charlie in Romania, and apparently the whole family couldn't afford the trip. Hermione left, but not before making Harry and Ron promise 3 times that they wouldn't do anything stupid without her. Define stupid, Ron had said. Anything that could get you killed. That's really limiting our options, Hermione. She'd left with a huff, but she'd been smiling. The castle was quieter with most students gone. Harry spent his days exploring, he had the invisibility cloak and curiosity and nothing better to do. On Christmas Eve, he found the room of requirement by accident. He'd been pacing a 7th-floor corridor, thinking about how much he wished he had somewhere private to practice fire magic, when a door appeared. Just appeared. Where there had been blank wall a moment before. Harry stared at it. Opened it. Inside was a training room. Open space, stone walls enchanted to resist damage, practice dummies in one corner, and a fireplace large enough to walk into blazing cheerfully against the far wall. "Okay," Harry said to the empty room. "That's brilliant." He stepped inside. The door vanished behind him. For the next 2 hours, Harry practiced. Really practiced, without holding back. He pulled fire from the hearth and shaped it. Not random shapes, complex ones. A lion that prowled across the floor. A phoenix that flew in circles overhead. A serpent that coiled around his arm without burning him. He learned to absorb heat. Pulling thermal energy from the air, from the stones, from the practice dummies until frost formed on their surfaces. He learned to project heat without creating visible flames. The air shimmered around his hands, hot enough to distort vision, hot enough that a practice dummy burst into flames when he touched it. Control. Precision. Power. By the time he left, exhausted and exhilarated, he understood his abilities better than he ever had. And he knew he was only scratching the surface. Christmas morning brought presents. Not many, Harry had never expected many, but each one felt significant. From the Dursleys, nothing. From Hagrid, a roughly cut wooden flute that actually played surprisingly well. From Ron, a Chudley Cannon's poster that Ron had clearly saved up for. From Hermione, a book called Practical Fire Safety Spells with a note that read, "Since you insist on playing with fire, you might as well be careful about it." Harry smiled. The last present was wrapped in silvery fabric. The tag read simply, "Your father left this in my possession before he died. I think it's time it was returned to you." Inside was the invisibility cloak, though Harry had already received it from Hagrid, who'd admitted Dumbledore had given it to him to pass along. Interesting. Harry pulled the cloak around his shoulders and stood. Ron, still in his pajamas, watched him vanish. "That's so weird. I can hear you but I can't see you at all. Want to explore?" Obviously. They spent the morning wandering the castle under the cloak, cramped, but manageable. They found the kitchens and convinced the house elves to give them extra pastries. They watched Percy having a very serious conversation with himself in front of a mirror, probably practicing for prefect duties. They narrowly avoided Filch twice. It was, Harry thought, the best Christmas morning he could remember. That night, he returned to his explorations alone. The castle at night was becoming familiar territory. Harry knew which stairs to avoid, which portraits would tattle, which corridors Filch patrolled. He didn't have a destination in mind. Just wandered, invisible and curious. Until he found the room. It was small, tucked away in a forgotten corner of the castle. Empty except for a single object, a magnificent mirror, tall as the ceiling, with an ornate gold frame. Harry approached slowly. The inscription along the top read, "Erist stra eru oit ube kafru oit on wosi." He read it backward, "I show not your face but your heart's desire." Harry looked into the mirror. At first, he saw himself. Then figures appeared behind his reflection, his parents, smiling and waving. His mother had tears in her eyes. His father's hand was on Harry's shoulder, proud and warm. Harry's throat tightened. But there was more. As he watched, the scene shifted. He saw himself, older, maybe 17 or 18, standing before a massive crowd in what looked like the ministry atrium. He was wreathed in golden flames, not burning but radiant. The flames extended from him like wings, protective and powerful. The crowd was cheering. Behind older Harry stood his friends. Ron, looking confident and battle-scarred. Hermione, robes marked with scholarly insignias. Others he didn't recognize yet. And in his hand, older Harry held something that pulsed with contained fire. A sphere, similar to the one in Borgin's shop, but golden instead of dark. The Fiendfyre. Mastered. Controlled. His. Harry stared at the vision for a long time. This was his heart's desire. Not just to have his parents back, though he wanted that desperately. But to become something more. To master his power. To stand unafraid before the entire wizarding world and show them what he truly was. To be free. Back again, Harry. Harry spun. Dumbledore stood in the doorway, wearing a dressing gown embroidered with stars. I was just exploring. And found the mirror of Erist. Dumbledore moved closer. It shows us what we desire most. Our deepest, most desperate wishes. Harry said nothing. May I ask what you see? My parents. It wasn't a lie. Just not the complete truth. Dumbledore's expression softened. I see. Many who have looked into this mirror have wasted away before it, entranced by what they see. It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. I wasn't dwelling. Just, looking. Of course. Dumbledore studied him. This mirror will be moved tomorrow. I ask that you do not go looking for it again. Why keep it at all if it's so dangerous? Because sometimes, Harry, understanding our deepest desires helps us understand ourselves. Dumbledore's eyes were sharp behind his spectacles. Though I wonder if you truly saw only your parents. The mirror shows our heart's desires, after all. And the heart is rarely simple. Harry held his gaze. I saw what I saw, Professor. Dumbledore turned to leave. Then, at the door, your father would be proud of you, Harry. As would your mother. Of that, I'm certain. He left. Harry looked back at the mirror. The vision was still there, older Harry, golden flames, freedom and power and control. He committed every detail to memory, then left. Tomorrow the mirror would be gone. But the vision would remain. And Harry would make it real. The rest of Christmas break passed quietly. Too quietly. Harry couldn't shake the feeling that something was building. Pressure, like before a storm. Classes resumed in January, and with them came Hermione, full of questions about whether they'd discovered anything about the third-floor corridor. We've been researching, Harry said. They were in the library again, tucked into a corner table. Something valuable is being kept at Hogwarts this year. Hagrid let it slip, he was involved in moving it from Gringotts. What is it? Hermione asked. We don't know yet. But it's important enough to guard with a three-headed dog and whoever knows what else. You think someone's trying to steal it? I think someone already is. Those scratches on the door. They were from the inside. Someone got past Fluffy and ran into whatever's next. Ron leaned back. So we've got a thief, a dog, and a mystery object. And probably a bunch of death traps between the dog and the object. Sounds about right. Brilliant. How are we supposed to deal with that? We learn more. Figure out who's trying to steal it. Stop them before they succeed. Hermione bit her lip. This is dangerous, Harry. I know. Really dangerous. I know that too. She sighed. At least tell me you have some kind of plan. Working on it. That's not reassuring. It's honest. Before Hermione could argue further, Daphne appeared at their table. Potter. Can we talk? Harry glanced at Ron and Hermione. They both looked suspicious but didn't object. I'll be back. He followed Daphne to a more secluded corner. I found someone, she said without preamble. An expert on primal magic. Former cursebreaker, now retired. He lives in Scotland, about 2 hours from here by broomstick. How did you? My father knows people. I asked discreet questions. Daphne handed him a slip of parchment. His name is Arcturus Flammel. No relation to Nicholas, before you ask. He's willing to meet you during the Easter holiday. Why would he help me? Because I may have mentioned your Harry Potter and you have a very unique problem. He's curious. Harry pocketed the parchment. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Flamel is odd. Brilliant, but odd. And he'll expect payment of some kind, information, favors, something. Be prepared to negotiate. I will. Daphne studied him. You're planning something. Something to do with whatever's being guarded in the forbidden corridor. It wasn't a question. Maybe. Don't do anything stupid, Potter. You're more useful alive. I'll keep that in mind. She left, and Harry returned to Ron and Hermione. What was that about? Ron asked. Information. She found someone who might be able to help me with my situation. The fire thing? Yeah. Hermione looked thoughtful. Can you trust her? I don't know. But right now she's useful. That's very Slytherin of you, Ron observed. Harry shrugged. I'm adaptable. February arrived with a new complication, Quidditch. Harry had been so focused on magical research and the mystery of the third-floor corridor that he'd almost forgotten he was seeker for Gryffindor. Wood, the Quidditch captain, had not forgotten. Potter. Wood cornered him after breakfast. You've missed 3 practices. I've been busy. I don't care if you've been meeting with Merlin himself. We have a match against Slytherin in 2 weeks and our seeker hasn't practiced in over a month. Harry sighed. I'll be at the next practice. You'll be at all the practices. Every day until the match. Understand? Fine. Wood's expression softened slightly. Look, Harry. I know you've got stuff going on. But Quidditch is important. This is our year. I can feel it. I'll be there, Wood. I promise. And he was. Every practice, every drill, every strategy session. Flying helped, actually. Up in the air, nothing else mattered. Just wind and speed and the thrill of the chase. The team was good. Katie Bell, Alicia Spinnett, and Angelina Johnson were talented chasers. Fred and George Weasley were chaotic but effective beaters. And Wood was a defensive genius as keeper. With Harry as seeker, they were unstoppable. The match against Slytherin was brutal. Slytherin played dirty, always had, according to the twins. Their seeker, Terence Higgs, tried to box Harry out. Their beaters aimed bludgers at Harry's head more than was strictly necessary. Flint, their captain, was a thug who should have been banned from the sport entirely. Harry didn't care. He flew circles around Higgs. Dodged bludgers without breaking focus. And when he spotted the snitch, tiny golden wings fluttering near the Slytherin goalposts, he went into a dive that made the crowd gasp. Higgs followed. They were neck and neck, both reaching. Harry's broom began to shudder. Not from the dive. From something else. Someone was hexing him. He felt it in the enchantments of his broom, hostile magic, trying to throw him off. He wobbled dangerously. In the stands, Hermione had noticed. She was pointing at the teachers' section, specifically at Snape, who was muttering something with his wand out. Harry didn't have time to think about it. He was 50 feet up and losing control fast. So he stopped fighting it. He let go of the broom entirely. The crowd screamed. Ron shouted his name. Harry fell, and caught himself with fire. Not literally flying. But as he fell, he heated the air beneath him, creating an updraft strong enough to slow his descent. At the same time, he reached for the warmth of the stadium torches, pulling their heat toward him, using it to cushion his fall. He landed on the pitch, hard but alive. Silence. Then chaos. Students poured onto the field. Madame Hooch was sprinting toward him. The teachers stood frozen in shock. Harry got to his feet, brushing off his robes. In his hand was the golden snitch. He'd caught it on the way down. I win, he said. The Gryffindors erupted. That night, the common room was a party. Someone had smuggled in butterbeer. Fred and George were setting off fireworks, indoor safe, they claimed, though Harry had doubts. Katie was recounting Harry's catch to anyone who would listen, embellishing more with each retelling. Harry sat in his usual chair by the fire, watching the celebration with a small smile. Ron dropped into the seat beside him. "Mate. That was the most insane thing I've ever seen. And I've got Fred and George as brothers. It worked, didn't it?" "It worked because you're mental." Ron shook his head. "Did you really cushion your fall with fire?" "More or less." "How?" "Heated the air. Created lift. Used the thermal energy from, I don't actually understand any of those words." Harry laughed. "Magic." "Yeah. That I get." Hermione appeared, looking furious. "It was Snape. I saw him hexing your broom." "You sure?" "Positive. He was muttering a curse, not taking his eyes off you. I stopped him, set his robes on fire to break his concentration." "You set a professor on fire?" "A small fire. Barely noticeable. And it saved your life." Harry grinned. "Thank you." "You're welcome. Though we need to figure out why Snape wants you dead. Maybe he just hates me." "Nobody hates someone enough to murder them in front of the entire school," Hermione said. "There's something else going on." Ron frowned. "You think it's connected to the third-floor corridor?" "Maybe. Snape could be the one trying to steal whatever's being guarded. Or he's trying to protect it," Harry said slowly. "We don't actually know who the thief is. Either way, we need to know what's being guarded." Hermione pulled out a book, she'd been carrying it around for days. "I've been researching. There's a reference in recent historical events to something being moved from Gringotts this past summer. The timing matches." "What was it?" Ron asked. "The book doesn't say. Just that Nicholas Flamel requested a high-security transfer." Harry sat up straighter. "Nicholas Flamel. Daphne mentioned him. Said the expert she found wasn't related to him." "Who's Nicholas Flamel?" "I don't know. But if something of his is at Hogwarts, it must be important." "I'll research him," Hermione said immediately. "Of course you will," Ron muttered. But he was smiling. The answer came a week later. Hermione burst into the common room, book in hand, eyes bright with discovery. "I found him. Nicholas Flamel." Harry and Ron looked up from their chess game. Harry was losing badly, as usual. "Who is he?" Harry asked. "Only the only known maker of the Philosopher's Stone." Silence. "The what now?" Ron said. "The Philosopher's Stone. It's legendary. It transforms any metal into gold and produces the elixir of life, which makes the drinker immortal." "Immortal," Harry repeated. "Yes. Flamel's been alive for over 600 years. And if something of his was moved from Gringotts to Hogwarts, the stone is here. It has to be. It's the only thing valuable enough to guard like that." Ron whistled. "Okay. So we've got an immortality stone being guarded by a three-headed dog and probably other defenses. And someone, maybe Snape, is trying to steal it. But why would Snape want immortality?" Hermione asked. "He's not exactly old. Maybe he's not stealing it for himself," Harry said quietly. "Maybe he's stealing it for someone else." The implications hung in the air. "You know who," Ron breathed. "If he had the stone, he could come back. Fully. Not just as whatever he is now." "If he's even still alive," Hermione said. "We don't know that he is. We don't know that he isn't." Harry stared into the fire. The flames danced, reaching toward him as always. Somewhere out there, Voldemort might still exist. Might be working to return. And if he got the Philosopher's Stone, We have to protect it, Harry said. From Snape? From you-know-who? From whoever? Ron shook his head. Mate, we're first years. What are we supposed to do? What we can. Harry stood. We watch. We learn. And if something happens, we stop it. That's not a plan, Hermione said. It's all we've got. She didn't argue. Because she knew he was right. March brought warmth and longer days. It also brought a visitor. Harry was in the room of requirement, practicing. He'd been spending hours there every week, pushing his limits, learning control, when the fire in the massive hearth suddenly turned gold. Not yellow gold. Pure, metallic gold. Harry froze. The flames coalesced. Took shape. A salamander emerged from the hearth, easily the size of a large dog. Its body was living fire, scales of flame, eyes of molten gold, no solid substance at all. It looked at Harry. Finally, a voice said directly into his mind. The bearer of the primal flame. I have traveled far to find you. Harry didn't move. What are you? I am Salamander. Elder of my kind. I have existed since before your civilization, since before stone cities and spelled castles. The creature moved closer. And you, child, carry something that should not exist in mortal flesh. The Fiendfyre. Not merely Fiendfyre. That is the spell, the construct, the weapon. What lives in you is older. Deeper. The salamander circled him slowly. On the night of your birth into magic, when the Dark Lord sought to destroy you, he channeled forces he did not understand. He called Fiendfyre from the raw elemental plane, not creating it, but summoning it. And when your mother's protection shielded you, when his killing curse rebounded, the elemental flame had nowhere to go. So it went into you. Harry's breath caught. I'm hosting elemental fire. You are bonded to it. Merged with it. In a sense, you are it, as much as you are flesh and blood. The salamander sat, flames flickering gently. This has not happened since the time of Merlin. And even he did not bond with pure elemental force, he merely touched its edges. What does that mean for me? It means you have potential beyond any living wizard. It also means you are in constant danger. The bond is unstable in one so young. Emotions will trigger surges. Stress will cause flames. And if you lose control completely, I'll burn. Everything will burn. The salamander's mental voice was grave. But there is hope. I can teach you. The old ways, the primal disciplines. How to commune with fire rather than simply commanding it. How to maintain balance. Why help me? Because what you carry is sacred to my kind. Because I do not wish to see it destroy you, or this world. And because. The creature seemed almost amused. Because you interest me, Harry Potter. You are unique. And uniqueness should be preserved, not extinguished. Harry considered. What would this training involve? Meeting here, in this space that bends to your will. Once weekly, when you can spare the time. I will teach you to sense fire's true nature, to understand its language, to harmonize with its essence. The salamander's eyes glowed brighter. But understand, this is not wizard magic. This is older, wilder, more demanding. You must be willing to change, to accept what you truly are. Which is neither wizard nor creature, but something between. Something new. Harry thought about the mirror of Erist. About the vision of himself wreathed in golden flames, standing before the wizarding world without fear. I'm willing. Good. The salamander moved to the hearth. Then we begin next week. For now, practice what you already know. And Harry, be cautious. There are forces stirring that can sense your power. Not all are as benevolent as I. The creature dissolved back into the fire. Harry stood alone in the room of requirement, processing. He had a teacher now. A guide. But the warning lingered. Something else was out there. Something that wanted what he carried. And sooner or later, he'd have to face it. The final week of March brought everything to a head. Harry was in the library with Hermione when Hagrid appeared, looking flustered. Harry. Hermione. Thank goodness. Have ye seen Quirrell? Not since Defense Against the Dark Arts this morning. Why? He was askin me questions. Strange questions. About the protections on a certain thing. Hagrid lowered his voice. And I may have let slip how to get past, well. How to get past Fluffy. Harry's blood ran cold. What did you tell him? Just that music calms him down. Sends him right to sleep. But I shouldn't have, Dumbledore trusted me, Hagrid. Harry gripped the half-giant's arm. It's okay. We'll handle it. Handle what? Ya can't go near that corridor, we won't. We'll tell Dumbledore. Hagrid looked relieved. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I'll go find him myself, he lumbered off. Harry turned to Hermione. Quirrell. Not Snape. Maybe they're working together. Or maybe we were wrong about Snape. Harry grabbed his bag. We need to find Ron. And then we need to figure out what to do. They found Ron in the common room and explained quickly. So Quirrell knows how to get past Fluffy, Ron summarized. And he's probably going after the stone tonight. Do we tell Dumbledore? We should, Hermione said. But what if we're wrong? Harry countered. What if Quirrell was just asking innocent questions and we cause a panic over nothing? And what if we're right and we do nothing? Harry paced. The fire in the hearth flared with each pass. We watch the corridor tonight. If someone tries to get through, we follow. If nothing happens, we tell Dumbledore tomorrow. That's a terrible plan, Hermione said. You keep saying that. Because you keep making terrible plans. Do you have a better one? She hesitated. No. Then we go tonight. Ron sighed. Why do I feel like we're going to die? Because we might, Harry said honestly. But we might save the Philosopher's Stone. And stop Voldemort from returning. I think that's worth the risk. Neither of them argued. Midnight found 3 first-years huddled under an invisibility cloak outside the third-floor corridor. The door was open. Not unlocked. Not damaged. Just open, as if someone had walked through and hadn't bothered closing it behind them. Someone's already inside, Ron whispered. We go in, Harry said. Carefully. They slipped through the door. The room beyond was dark and enormous. And in the center, sprawled across a trap door, was Fluffy. All 3 heads were asleep, snoring in harmony. A magical harp in the corner played itself. Someone definitely came through, Hermione breathed. Harry approached the trap door. Fluffy's massive paw was partially covering it, but there was enough room to slip through. We go down, he said. Are you insane? Ron hissed. We should get Dumbledore now, by the time we find him, whoever's down there could have the stone. We check it out. If it's too dangerous, we run. When has it ever been not too dangerous? Good point. Harry pulled open the trap door. Below was darkness. And far, far down, the sound of movement. I'm going. Harry looked at his friends. You don't have to. Oh, shut up, Hermione said. If you're going, we're going. Ron nodded. What she said. Harry smiled. Then he jumped. The fall was shorter than expected, maybe 20 feet, and he landed on something soft and yielding. Hermione and Ron crashed down beside him moments later. What is this? Ron asked, struggling to his feet. The vines around them began to move. Devil's snare. Hermione shouted. Don't move, relax, it kills you faster if you struggle. Harry didn't relax. He ignited his hands. The flames erupted, bright and hot, and the devil's snare recoiled immediately. The vines released them all, writhing away from the fire. Or do that, Hermione said weakly. Harry helped them up, maintaining the flames until they were clear of the plant entirely. They ran down a stone corridor. Ahead, they heard wings, hundreds of wings. The next chamber was filled with flying keys. One door, one lock, dozens of keys swooping and diving through the air. We need to find the right key, Hermione said, examining the door. Old-fashioned lock, so probably an old-fashioned key. Large. Silver probably, there. Harry pointed. One key flew differently than the others, sluggishly, like its wing was damaged. It's been used recently. That's the one. How do we catch it? I fly. Ron handed him a broom from the rack by the door. Harry kicked off immediately. The key tried to evade. Harry pursued. He'd played Seeker for months now. Catching a single key was child's play compared to finding a snitch in a stadium full of distractions. He snatched it from the air and landed. The key opened the door. Beyond was a giant chessboard. No, Ron breathed. No way. We have to play across. Hermione asked. Yeah. And we have to win. Ron studied the board. I'll play. You two take positions. Harry, you're a bishop. Hermione, you're a castle. Ron, you can't, I'm the best at chess. You know I am. Trust me. They took their positions. The game began. Ron was brilliant, calling out moves, sacrificing pieces strategically, always 3 steps ahead of the opposing side. Harry and Hermione followed his instructions exactly. Until Ron made the final call. Harry, checkmate in 3 moves. But I have to let myself be taken. The queen will take me, you move to check, the king moves, Hermione's castle takes him. No, Harry said. There has to be another way, there isn't. Trust me. Ron looked at him. This is how we win. Harry wanted to argue. But the set of Ron's jaw told him it was pointless. Knight to h6, Ron called. The opposing queen moved swiftly. Her stone sword came down. Ron crumpled. Hermione screamed. Harry moved, check. The king moved. Hermione's castle took the king, and the opposing pieces bowed, clearing the path. Harry and Hermione ran to Ron. He was unconscious, bleeding from a head wound, but alive. Stay with him, Harry said. Harry, you can't, someone has to get the stone. Stay with Ron. Get help if you can. He ran through the next door before she could argue. The corridor beyond ended in a chamber with a single mirror. The mirror of Eriste. And standing before it, staring into its depths, was Professor Quirrell. Harry stopped. Quirrell didn't turn. Potter. I wondered when you'd arrive. Step away from the mirror, Professor. I don't think so. Quirrell's voice was different. Smoother. More confident. I'm so close. The stone is here. I can feel it. But the mirror, Dumbledore's enchantment, I don't understand it. Then give up. Give up. Quirrell laughed. After all this? The planning, the waiting, the pretending to be a coward? No, Potter. I will have the stone. And with it, I will restore my master to power. Voldemort. Don't speak his name. Quirrell spun. His face was twisted with fanaticism. You understand nothing. He is the greatest wizard who ever lived, he's a murderer. He is power. Quirrell's voice rose to a shriek. And I will help him return. Show me how to use the mirror, Potter, or I'll kill you where you stand. Harry raised his hands. Flames ignited around his fingers. Try. Quirrell's eyes widened. So it's true. You carry the Fiendfyre. My master's own creation, stolen by a child. He drew his wand. How fitting. I'll take it back for him. He cast. Harry dodged, barely. The curse scorched the wall behind him. Quirrell advanced, casting rapidly. Harry deflected with fire, melting one curse, burning through another. The chamber heated rapidly. You can't win, boy. I have decades of experience. You have decades of hiding. Harry pushed forward, flames growing hotter. I have power you can't imagine. He launched a stream of fire. Quirrell conjured a shield, but the flames didn't stop. They wrapped around the barrier, seeking weakness, finding it, burning through. Quirrell stumbled back. Impossible, a voice cut through the chamber. Cold. Sibilant. Wrong. Let me speak to him. Quirrell's hands rose to his turban. Unwrapped it slowly. Where the back of his head should have been was a face. Voldemort's face. Flat-nosed, red-eyed, barely more than a skull stretched over with pale skin. Harry's breath caught. Harry Potter. The voice came from that terrible face. We meet at last. How you have grown. And how you have stolen from me. I didn't steal anything. The fire, Harry. The primal flame. I summoned it. I controlled it. I used it to destroy your pathetic home. And somehow, your mother's foolish sacrifice turned my weapon into your power. The face twisted in a mockery of a smile. But it belongs to me. And I will take it back. Quirrell's hands reached for Harry. Harry grabbed them. Skin met skin. And Quirrell screamed. Harry felt it immediately, his fire, his essence, burning through Quirrell's flesh. The man was possessed, corrupted, filled with dark magic. And Harry's fire rejected all of it. Quirrell tried to pull away. Harry held on. The stone, Harry said through gritted teeth. Where is it? In the mirror, only one who wants to find it but not use it can retrieve it. How do I kill him? Voldemort shrieked. Kill the boy. But Quirrell was burning. His hands crumbled to ash. He staggered back, screaming, and Harry released him. Quirrell collapsed. From his disintegrating body, something rose, a shadow, a wraith, screaming with Voldemort's voice. It flew at Harry. Passed through him. Harry felt cold. Felt darkness. Felt the echo of every terrible thing Voldemort had ever done. And then he felt his fire rise to meet it. Golden flames erupted from Harry's core, burning away the darkness, rejecting the possession. Voldemort's wraith shrieked and fled, dissolving into smoke that vanished through the chamber walls. Harry collapsed to his knees, gasping. Quirrell was dead. Or dying. Hard to tell when someone was mostly ash. The mirror stood behind him, patient and waiting. Harry forced himself to stand. Approached it. His reflection looked back. Behind him, his parents appeared briefly, then faded. And then he saw himself holding a red stone. In his reflection, his hand closed around it. In reality, Harry felt weight in his pocket. He reached in. Pulled out the Philosopher's Stone. It was warm. Pulsing faintly with its own magic. Well done, Harry. Dumbledore stood in the doorway. Harry's vision blurred. The adrenaline was fading, leaving exhaustion and pain. Sir. Ron is hurt. Hermione. They're safe. Help is with them now. Dumbledore moved forward slowly. You've had quite the night. Voldemort. Is gone. For now. Dumbledore's expression was grave. As is Professor Quirrell, I see. He tried to kill me. He was possessed. I didn't, I tried not to. Peace, Harry. You defended yourself. No one will fault you for that. Dumbledore extended his hand. The stone, if you please. Harry looked down at it. Then at Dumbledore. You used me. The protections, a first year could get through all of them. You knew someone would try for the stone. And you knew I'd try to stop them. I had faith you would do the right thing. Faith. Harry's hands tightened around the stone. You put my friends in danger. Ron could have died. Hermione could have died. I could have died. But you didn't. That doesn't make it right. Dumbledore's expression didn't change. Harry. The stone. For a moment, Harry considered refusing. Keeping it. Using it to what? Make gold. Live forever. Those weren't his desires. He handed it over. Dumbledore's fingers closed around it. Thank you. I know that wasn't easy. Are you going to destroy it? Nicholas and I have discussed it. Yes. The stone is too dangerous to exist now that Voldemort knows of it. And me? Am I too dangerous? Dumbledore met his eyes. That, Harry, remains to be seen. Harry's vision went black. He woke 3 days later in the hospital wing. Hermione was asleep in a chair beside his bed. Ron was in the next bed over, bandaged but awake. Harry. Ron's shout woke Hermione, who immediately burst into tears. You idiot. You complete idiot. We thought you were going to die. I'm okay, Harry croaked. His throat was raw. Ron. Concussion. Broken arm. Madame Pomfrey fixed me up easy. Ron grinned weakly. You killed Quirrell. I defended myself. You killed a professor who was possessed by you-know-who. That's pretty hardcore. Ronald. Hermione smacked his arm, the unbroken one. This isn't a joke. I know. I'm just saying, we faced down you-know-who and lived. That's something. Harry sat up slowly. The stone. Destroyed, Hermione said. Dumbledore announced it yesterday. Said it was too dangerous to keep and Nicholas Flamel agreed. So it's over. For now. Harry looked out the window. The grounds were green with late spring. Students were enjoying the sunshine. Everything looked normal. But it wasn't. Harry knew that now. Voldemort was still out there. Dumbledore was still manipulating events. And Harry was still something more, and less, than an ordinary wizard. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. And next time, Harry would be ready. The end-of-year feast was subdued. Gryffindor won the House Cup, Dumbledore awarded last-minute points for services to the school, but Harry barely cared. He sat with Ron and Hermione, picking at his food, thinking about everything that had happened. You're brooding, Hermione said. I'm thinking. Same thing for you. Harry smiled slightly. Maybe. Ron raised his goblet. To surviving our first year. And to not dying. That's a low bar, Hermione said. It's been that kind of year. They clinked goblets. Across the hall, Daphne caught Harry's eye. She raised her own goblet slightly, acknowledgement, respect, perhaps the beginning of real alliance. Harry returned the gesture. At the staff table, Snape was staring into his plate, expression unreadable. Dumbledore was watching Harry with those calculating eyes. And somewhere beyond Hogwarts walls, in shadows and darkness, something stirred. Voldemort wasn't dead. The salamander had warned of forces seeking Harry's power. The wizarding world was more complicated and dangerous than he'd ever imagined. But Harry wasn't alone. He had friends. He had allies. He had power he was only beginning to understand. And he had time. The train ride home was bittersweet. Harry watched the Scottish countryside pass, Hermione reading beside him, Ron snoring across the compartment. His first year was over. He'd survived. Learned. Grown. But summer at the Dursleys loomed ahead, though Harry had plans for making this summer very different from past years. He had research to do. Training to continue. And a meeting with Arcturus Flamel to arrange. The boy who lived was done just surviving. It was time to start truly living. And the wizarding world would never be the same. Chapter 3, Conflagration. The summer heat beat down on Privet Drive like a punishment from above. Harry sat cross-legged in Dudley's second bedroom, his room now, claimed on the first day back through careful application of implied threats, and held a ball of fire between his palms. Not burning. Just existing. Warm and patient and perfectly controlled. 3 weeks into summer break, and he'd already made more progress than the entire school year. The Dursleys left him alone. Completely alone. After that first night when Harry had casually lit the fireplace with a gesture, in July, with the windows open, Vernon had gone white and retreated without a word. Petunia pretended he didn't exist. Dudley crossed the street when he saw Harry coming. It was perfect. Harry had transformed the small bedroom into a study. Books lined the walls, he'd ordered them through Owl Post, drawing from his Gringotts vault with Hagrid's help. Advanced fire theory. Elemental bonds throughout history. The nature of dark curses and their counters. Even some Muggle books on thermodynamics and combustion, because Hermione's influence ran deep. A letter sat on his desk, already read 3 times, Dear Harry, my research into your condition continues. I've found references to something called the primal flame in texts dating back to pre-Roman Britain. The Druids apparently knew of it, called it the first fire, and considered it sacred. More importantly, I found mention of a ritual that might help stabilize your connection. I'm copying the relevant passages for your review. Also, Arcturus Flamel confirmed our meeting for August 15th. He seems genuinely interested in your case. Father says he's eccentric but brilliant, one of the few people alive who truly understands elemental magic. Stay safe. Don't burn down your relative's house. Daphne. Harry smiled at the last line. He'd written to her describing the Dursleys in unflattering but accurate terms. Her response had been characteristically dry. A knock at the window made him look up. Hedwig was returning with a reply from Ron, but she wasn't alone. A tiny owl bounced excitedly beside her, carrying a scroll almost as big as itself. Harry opened the window. Hedwig flew in with dignity. The small owl crashed into his lamp. Easy there. Harry untied both messages. Ron's was brief, Harry, Mom says you can come visit. Dad's entering some ministry contest and we might win gold. Percy's being a prat about it. Fred and George blew up the garden shed. Normal stuff. Right back when you can come. Ron. P.S. That's Errol. He's ancient. Don't expect him to survive the return trip. The other letter was from Hermione. Harry, I've been researching Voldemort's history as you suggested. What I've found is disturbing. He was a student at Hogwarts, Tom Riddle, head boy 50 years ago. He was brilliant, charming, and apparently completely evil even then. There are gaps in the record that suggest something was covered up, possibly related to a student death. More concerning, I found references to something called Horcruxes in a book I definitely shouldn't have been reading. The text was unclear, but it seems to be a method of achieving immortality through dark magic. I think Voldemort may have created one or more. We need to discuss this in person. When can you visit the Burrow? Love, Hermione. Harry set both letters down. Horcruxes. Immortality through dark magic. Combined with what he already knew, Voldemort's survival as a wraith, his possession of Quirrell, his determination to return, a picture was forming. A picture Harry didn't like at all. He pulled out parchment and began writing responses. To Ron, yes, he'd visit as soon as he could arrange transport. To Hermione, they'd talk at the Burrow, and she should bring everything she'd found. To Daphne, thank you for the research, and he'd see her at Flammel's. The fire in his palms pulsed once, then extinguished as he focused on writing. Outside, the summer sun continued to blaze. And somewhere in the darkness, something ancient began to wake. The Burrow was chaos incarnate, and Harry loved it immediately. Mrs. Weasley had hugged him so hard he'd nearly passed out. Mr. Weasley had interrogated him about Muggle technology for an hour straight. Fred and George had attempted to prank him 3 times before lunch. All 3 attempts had mysteriously backfired, leaving the twins with singed eyebrows and newfound respect. "How'd you do that?" George demanded. "We didn't even see you move." "Trade secret," Harry said, grinning. Ron's room was at the very top of the house, a cramped space plastered with Chudley Cannon's posters. Harry didn't mind the size. After 10 years in a cupboard, any room felt spacious. Hermione arrived 2 days later, arms full of books and face full of worry. "We need to talk," she said before she'd even finished saying hello. They gathered in Ron's room, silencing charms firmly in place, Hermione's work, precise and thorough. "Horcruxes," she began, pulling out a sheaf of notes. "The darkest magic I've ever read about. To create one, a wizard must commit murder and use that act to tear their soul apart. The fragment is then stored in an object, anchoring the wizard to life even if their body is destroyed. That's how Voldemort survived," Harry said quietly. "When his curse rebounded. His body was destroyed, but his soul was anchored." "Exactly. And here's the worst part, there's no limit to how many Horcruxes someone can create. The more fragments, the less human the creator becomes, but theoretically. He could have made dozens. Let's hope not. The process is supposed to be agonizing, and it requires genuine evil to accomplish. Even Voldemort would have limits." Ron looked green. "So to actually kill him, we'd have to find and destroy all of these soul things first. That's what the theory suggests." Harry stared at his hands. Fire flickered briefly beneath his skin before he controlled it. "I can feel him sometimes," he admitted. "Through my scar. Dreams, mostly. Anger. Hunger. It got worse after what happened with Quirrell." Hermione's expression sharpened. "Harry, that could mean that I'm connected to him." "I know." Harry met her eyes. "The question is how. And whether it means what I think it means." The silence was heavy. "You think you might be a Horcrux," Ron said finally. "I think it's possible. When Voldemort tried to kill me, when his curse rebounded, a piece of his soul could have latched onto the only living thing left. That's..." Hermione's voice caught. "Harry, that would mean that I have to die to destroy him completely." Harry's voice was calm. Steady. "Maybe. Or maybe there's another way. The fire inside me, it's not normal magic. It's primal. Elemental. It burned away Voldemort's possession when his wraith tried to enter me. Maybe it can burn away anything he left behind too. That's a lot of maybes. It's all I've got right now." Harry stood, moving to the window. The summer sun was setting, painting the Burrow's gardens in shades of gold and orange. "In 2 weeks, I'm meeting Arcturus Flammel. He knows more about elemental magic than anyone alive. If there's a way to purge whatever piece of Voldemort is inside me without dying, he'll know." "And if there isn't?" Ron asked. Harry didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was soft. "Then I'll deal with that when it comes. But I'm not giving up. Not on myself, not on this war, not on anything." He turned back to his friends. Voldemort is coming back. We all know it. The Philosopher's Stone was just the first attempt. There will be others. And when he does return, I need to be ready. We need to be ready, Hermione corrected. You're not doing this alone. She's right, Ron added. Whatever you're facing, we're facing it together. That's what friends do. Harry looked at them, Hermione with her fierce determination, Ron with his loyal stubbornness, and felt warmth that had nothing to do with fire. Together, then. They shook on it. The next 2 weeks at the Burrow passed quickly, filled with Quidditch practice and homework and Mrs. Weasley's cooking. Harry trained every morning in the orchard, pushing his limits, testing new applications of his power. He learned to heat things without visible flame, useful for starting fires without drawing attention. He learned to pull heat from objects, creating localized frost even in summer. He practiced shaping fire into increasingly complex forms, animals, weapons, barriers. And he meditated with the salamander's techniques, seeking the deeper connection to his elemental core. It was during one of these meditations that the vision came. Harry sat cross-legged in the orchard, eyes closed, awareness expanded to encompass every heat source within 100 meters. The sun above. The warm earth below. The cooking fires in the Burrow's kitchen. The ambient warmth of summer air. Then something shifted. He felt it, a presence. Ancient. Powerful. Not hostile, exactly, but not friendly either. Curious, maybe. Assessing. Bearer of the primal flame. The voice echoed through his mind, different from the salamander's warmth. This was colder. Sharper. Like fire that had burned so long it had forgotten what it meant to be warm. You grow stronger. Good. But strength without understanding is merely danger. Who are you? Harry thought the words rather than speaking them. I am what you will become, if you are not careful. I am what awaits those who embrace the flame too deeply. An image formed in his mind, a figure made entirely of fire, humanoid but wrong, burning eternally in darkness. It had no face, no features, only endless consuming flame where a body should be. We were mortal once. Wizards, druids, shamans, those who touched the primal flame and let it touch them back. We burned away our flesh, our limitations, our humanity. Now we simply burn. Is that a warning? It is truth. The flame in you is not a gift or a curse, it simply is. How you use it determines what you become. Master it, and you may achieve greatness beyond any wizard's imagining. Let it master you, and you will join us in the eternal fire. I don't plan on burning away. None of us did. The presence pulsed with something like amusement. But the flame is seductive, young bearer. It whispers of power, of freedom, of transcendence. And in moments of desperation, when all seems lost, it offers a way out. The question is whether you will take it. The presence began to fade. Wait, I have questions, another time. For now, know that we watch. We wait. And when the time comes, we will offer our aid, at a price. Be ready, Harry Potter. The Dark Lord who created you stirs in his prison of shadows. And when he rises, the flames will rise with him. The connection severed. Harry gasped, eyes snapping open, finding himself on his back in the orchard. His hands were burning, actual flames, dancing across his skin without pain. He extinguished them slowly, breathing hard. More players in the game. More forces interested in what he carried. Nothing was ever simple. August 15th arrived with unseasonable clouds. Harry apparat with Daphne from a designated point outside Hogwarts wards. She'd arranged ministry permission through her father's connections, to the Scottish Highlands, where Arcturus Flamel kept his home. Home was a generous term. The structure was ancient stone, half collapsed, covered in vines and moss. But as they approached, Harry felt wards, powerful ones, layered over centuries, thrumming with protective magic. And beneath those wards, heat. Intense, controlled, alive. "He's expecting us," Daphne said. "Try not to set anything on fire." "I'll do my best." The door opened before they could knock. An elderly man stood in the entrance, tall, gaunt, with white hair that stuck up in all directions and eyes that burned with literal flames. Not metaphorically. His irises were fire, contained and controlled, but undeniably present. "Potter." Arcturus Flammel's voice was gravelly, like stones grinding together. "You're smaller than I expected." "I'm 11. Come in. Both of you." The interior of the house was impossibly larger than the exterior, dimensional magic, Harry realized. The central room was dominated by a massive forge, flames burning blue-white, hotter than anything Harry had ever felt. Flammel gestured for them to sit on stone benches. Greengrass explained your situation. Fiendfyre bonded to an infant. Should have killed you instantly. Flammel's fire eyes studied Harry intently. But you're not dead. You're thriving. That shouldn't be possible. My mother's protection, sacrificial magic. Yes, powerful stuff. But it shouldn't have converted lethal cursed fire into a symbiotic elemental bond. Something else happened that night. Something nobody understands. Flammel leaned forward. Show me. Harry held up his hand. Called the fire. It came easily, golden orange, dancing above his palm. But as Flammel watched, the flames shifted. Deepened. For a moment, they turned the color of Fiendfyre, dark red, almost black, hungry and wrong. Then Harry reasserted control, and they returned to normal. There, Flammel breathed. Did you see that, girl? Daphne nodded, face pale. What was it? The echo. Voldemort's Fiendfyre, still present beneath Potter's natural flames. Flammel sat back, expression troubled. The curse wasn't neutralized, it was absorbed. Merged. Your fire is both the primal flame and Fiendfyre at once. Light and dark, creation and destruction, in constant balance. Is that bad? Harry asked. It's unprecedented. And extremely dangerous. Flammel stood, pacing before the forge. Fiendfyre is cursed flame. It hungers, destroys, cannot be controlled by any wizard alive. Except, apparently, you. The primal flame you carry acts as a container, I suppose. A vessel that holds the darkness without being consumed by it. But if I lose control, you'll release pure Fiendfyre with the full power of elemental magic behind it. You could burn this country to ash without meaning to. Flammel's tone was matter of fact. That's why you need training. Real training. Not the hedged, careful instruction Hogwarts provides. You need to understand what you are and how to master it completely. Can you teach me? I can begin to. But I'm old, Potter. Old and tired. My knowledge comes from books and theory, I've never been elementally bonded myself. Flammel returned to his seat. What you need is the salamander. The elder of fire elementals. He can teach you things I cannot. I've met him. He's been teaching me when he can. Flammel's fire eyes widened. The salamander comes to you. Regularly. Once a week, during school. We communicate during breaks. Remarkable. Flammel's expression shifted to something like respect. The salamander hasn't directly taught a mortal since Merlin. If he's taken interest in you, then I'm either very special or very dangerous. Both, most likely. Flammel waved a hand, and a book floated from a nearby shelf. I'll give you what texts I have on elemental magic. Study them over the school year. And I'll arrange to consult with the salamander about your training, he and I have an understanding. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. The path you're on is perilous. Most who've walked it have died, or worse, transcended their humanity entirely. Flamel's gaze was piercing. The question you'll eventually face is simple: how much of yourself are you willing to sacrifice for power? Harry met his fire eyes steadily. As much as I need to. But not more than that. Flamel studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, he smiled. Good answer. Let's begin. The training lasted 6 hours. Flamel pushed Harry to his limits, forcing him to hold more fire than ever before, to shape it in impossible ways, to draw on the Fiendfyre beneath his natural flames without letting it consume him. It was exhausting. Exhilarating. Terrifying. By the end, Harry could taste copper and his hands shook with fatigue. Enough, Flamel finally said. You've done well. Better than I expected. Harry collapsed onto the stone bench. Daphne handed him water. She'd been watching the entire session, taking notes, asking occasional questions. Her approach was scholarly, analytical. It reminded Harry of Hermione. Rest tonight, Flamel continued. Then return to your friends, your school. Practice what I've taught you, but carefully. And Potter, yes. Be wary of Dumbledore. He's a great wizard, but his methods are manipulative. He sees the big picture at the expense of individuals. You're a piece on his chessboard, whether you like it or not. I know. Do you? Then watch yourself. And trust your instincts. Flamel moved toward the forge, dismissing them. We'll meet again at Christmas. By then, I'll have more texts prepared. And hopefully, some answers about that scar of yours. Harry stood, wobbling slightly. My scar. It's not natural. There's something in it, some fragment of magic that shouldn't exist. I need time to research, but I believe it may be connected to what Voldemort left behind. Harry's heart pounded. A Horcrux. Flamel turned sharply. Where did you hear that word? Research. Hermione found references. Clever girl. Yes, I suspect you carry a Horcrux fragment. The question is how to remove it without killing you. Flamel's expression was grim. That's what I need to research. For now, don't do anything reckless. Keep the flames controlled. And stay alive. I'll try. Daphne led Harry outside. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the highland landscape. That was intense, she said. Yeah. Are you okay? Harry considered the question. His body ached, his magic was depleted, and he'd just confirmed his worst fear: a piece of Voldemort's soul lived inside him. But he'd also taken another step toward mastery. Toward understanding. Toward being ready for whatever came next. I'm okay, he said. I'm getting there. Daphne studied him. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled. You know, Potter, when I first decided to approach you, it was purely strategic. You had power. That made you useful. And now? Now I think you might actually be worth believing in. She held out her hand. Partners? Harry took it. Her grip was firm, her skin cool against his warmth. Partners. They operate back to Hogwarts together. Second year began with whispers. Harry felt them the moment he stepped off the Hogwarts Express, eyes tracking his movement, conversation stopping as he passed. His defeat of Quirrell/Voldemort had spread over the summer, growing more elaborate with each retelling. He'd killed a professor with his bare hands, some said. He'd dueled you-know-who and won, others claimed. He'd set the entire third-floor corridor on fire and walked out unscathed. None of it was exactly accurate. But none of it was entirely wrong either. Famous again, Ron observed as they walked toward the carriages. I was famous before. Not like this. Before you were the boy who lived, survived as a baby, big deal, anyone can be lucky. Now you're the kid who actually fought you-know-who. Twice. That's different. Hermione appeared at Harry's other side. It's also painting a target on your back. The older Slytherins have been talking all summer. Some of their families lost people to Voldemort's fall. They blame you. Let them. Harry's voice was flat. I didn't ask for any of this. But I'm not hiding from it either. The Great Hall feast was subdued. Dumbledore made his usual announcements, introduced the new defense professor, a pompous man named Gilderoy Lockhart who kept winking at the students, and generally projected an air of normalcy. But Harry felt the undercurrents. Something was different this year. Wrong. He couldn't identify it, but his flame sense kept prickling, detecting disturbances in the magical atmosphere. After the feast, he pulled Ron and Hermione aside. Something's off. Lockhart? Ron guessed. Because I agree. That bloke's a fraud if I've ever seen one. Not just him. The castle itself feels agitated. Like something's building beneath the surface. Hermione frowned. Building how? I don't know yet. But we should be careful this year. More careful than last year. Is that possible? Ron asked. Because last year we literally fought you-know-who. Exactly. And I don't think we're done fighting. The attacks began in October. Mrs. Norris was first. Found petrified beside a message written in blood, the Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air, beware. Harry stood in a corridor with the other students, staring at the frozen cat and the dripping words. Chamber of Secrets, Hermione breathed beside him. I've read about this. It's a legend. Supposedly Salazar Slytherin built a hidden chamber somewhere in the castle, housing some kind of monster. His heir was supposed to open it and purge the school of Muggleborns. Fantastic, Ron muttered. So we've got a monster, a mystery chamber, and someone who wants to kill Muggleborns. Great start to the year. Dumbledore examined Mrs. Norris, face grave. She's petrified, not dead. We'll be able to restore her when the mandrakes mature. But who did this? McGonagall demanded. No one had an answer. The crowd dispersed, but Harry lingered. He approached the bloody message, flame sense extended. Heat trace. Faint, but present. Something warm-blooded had been here recently, something large, moving fast, leaving a trail of residual warmth along the walls. Harry. Hermione touched his arm. There's a heat trail. Whatever did this was big. Really big. And it went. He followed the trace, stopping at a blank wall. Through here. Somehow. A secret passage? Maybe. Harry pressed his hand against the stone. Cold. No obvious mechanism. We'll have to research. Of course we will, Ron sighed. Because that worked so well last year. But he followed them toward the library anyway. The attacks continued. Colin Creevey. Justin Finch-Fletchley. Nearly headless Nick, a ghost, proving this wasn't ordinary petrification. And everywhere Harry went, whispers followed. Did you hear? Potter can speak Parseltongue. He's the heir of Slytherin. Has to be. His parents were blood traitors. Maybe he's making up for it. Harry had discovered his ability to speak to snakes accidentally, during a dueling club demonstration when Lockhart, idiot that he was, had conjured a serpent and lost control. Harry had told it to leave Finch-Fletchley alone. Everyone had heard the hissing. Now half the school thought he was behind the attacks. This is ridiculous, Hermione said forcefully. They were in the room of requirement. Harry's training space had become their unofficial headquarters. Harry's not attacking anyone. He's been with us or in class during every petrification. Doesn't matter, Daphne said. She'd started joining their meetings, providing political insight. Logic isn't relevant when people are scared. They want someone to blame, and Potter fits the narrative. So what do we do? Ron asked. Find the real attacker, Harry said. Stop them. Prove I'm not involved. How? Research. Investigation. The same way we figured out the Philosopher's Stone. Harry stood, pacing before the room's fireplace. The Chamber of Secrets was built by Salazar Slytherin. That means it's probably hidden using Slytherin magic, Parseltongue, snakes, that kind of thing. The heat trail you found, Hermione said slowly. You said it went through a wall. What if the entrance requires a password in Parseltongue? Then I'm the only one who can open it. Convenient, that. Or planned. Harry stopped pacing. Think about it. Someone's attacking Muggleborns. Slytherin's heir. The ability to speak to snakes. Everyone assuming it's me. What if the real heir is trying to frame me? Who? Ron demanded. I don't know. But there can't be that many Parselmouths in the school. It's rare, almost exclusive to Slytherin's descendants. The Gaunts, Daphne said quietly. Everyone looked at her. Old family. Died out decades ago, I thought. But they were the last known descendants of Slytherin. Daphne's expression was thoughtful. If there's another heir, they'd likely have Gaunt blood. Can you research that? Harry asked. I can try. But records on the Gaunts are limited. They weren't exactly respectable by the end, inbred, impoverished, violent. Any lead is better than none. November brought more attacks. More fear. More accusations. Harry threw himself into training, pushing harder than ever. The salamander appeared more frequently, teaching him techniques for sensing living things through their heat signatures, useful for tracking whatever was moving through the castle's walls. You seek the serpent, the salamander said during one session. I feel it. An old creature. Corrupted. It does not belong in this world. What is it? A basilisk. King of serpents. It kills with its gaze and turns to stone those who meet its eyes indirectly. The salamander's flames flickered sadly. I had hoped they were all extinct. It seems I was wrong. How do I stop it? You cannot kill a basilisk alone, young bearer. Its hide resists most magic. Its venom is lethal. And its gaze. Even you cannot burn faster than it can petrify. Then what? Find where it hides. Learn who controls it. Attack the controller, not the beast. Sound advice. But finding the controller was proving difficult. Harry's investigation kept circling back to the same questions. Who had Slytherin's blood? Who could speak Parseltongue? Who had reason to attack Muggleborns? The answer came from an unexpected source. Ginny Weasley, Ron's little sister, quiet and nervous and clearly struggling with her first year, collapsed in the Great Hall on December 1st. Harry felt it happen. A surge of dark magic, cold and parasitic, draining heat from her body faster than natural. He was across the hall before anyone else had moved. Ginny. Ron was right behind him. Ginny, what's wrong? She was unconscious, her skin pale, her breathing shallow. And clutched in her arms was a black diary. Harry touched it. The dark magic surged up to meet him, hungry and aware. He yanked his hand back, flames erupting defensively. That book, he said. It's cursed. Badly cursed. McGonagall was there now, taking charge. Someone get Madame Pomfrey. Potter, what did you sense? Dark magic. Something alive in there. Feeding on her. McGonagall's face went white. She levitated Ginny carefully, avoiding the diary. Everyone remained calm. Back to your common rooms. As students dispersed, Harry grabbed the diary before anyone could stop him. The dark magic attacked immediately. Cold. Invasive. Trying to worm into his mind, his soul, his magic. It felt like Voldemort. Harry's fire roared in response. Golden flames erupted from his hands, wrapping around the diary, burning away the darkness that tried to possess him. The diary screamed. Not audibly, no one else seemed to hear it. But Harry felt it, a psychic shriek of pain and rage. "You cannot destroy me," a voice hissed. "I am Lord Voldemort." "No," Harry said aloud. "You're a piece of him. A fragment. A Horcrux." Shock radiated through their connection. "How do you know that word?" "Doesn't matter." Harry poured more fire into the diary. "You're done hurting people." The diary burst into flames, real flames now, golden and cleansing, burning away paper and leather and dark magic alike. The screaming intensified, then cut off abruptly. Harry held the smoldering remains. Nothing left but ash. He'd destroyed a Horcrux. The aftermath was complicated. Ginny recovered quickly once the diary was destroyed, the parasitic connection severed, her life force began rebuilding immediately. She was confused, guilty, crying about things she'd done while possessed. "I opened the chamber," she whispered to Harry when he visited the hospital wing. "I let the basilisk out. I wrote those messages. But I don't remember, it was like watching myself from far away, the diary was controlling you. It wasn't your fault. But I was weak. I let it in, you were 11 and given a cursed object by someone who wanted to hurt you. That's not weakness. That's being targeted." Harry's voice was firm. "Who gave you the diary?" Ginny's face scrunched in concentration. "I don't, it was in my cauldron. After Diagon Alley. We went to Flourish and Blots, and there was a crowd, and—" "Malfoy," Harry said. "Lucius Malfoy was there. He insulted your father. He was near your things." Ginny's eyes widened. Harry left the hospital wing with a new target. Proving Lucius Malfoy had planted the diary was impossible. Oh, Harry knew it was true. The circumstances fit. The political implications fit. A Weasley child being the heir of Slytherin would have destroyed Arthur Weasley's reputation. And Malfoy had been a Death Eater, supposedly under Imperius, conveniently rehabilitated after Voldemort's fall. But knowing and proving were different things. "He's protected," Daphne said when Harry explained his suspicions. Sacred 28 family, massive political donations, friends in every ministry department. You could have a memory of him handing Ginny the diary and it wouldn't matter. So we do nothing. We document. We remember. And we wait for him to make a mistake. Daphne's expression was cold. The Malfoys aren't as powerful as they think. Their wealth comes from dark artifacts, war profiteering, and blackmail. Eventually, it catches up. Eventually isn't good enough. Sometimes it's all we have. Harry didn't like it. But he filed the information away, adding it to his growing picture of the wizarding world's corrupt power structures. Someday, he'd have enough power to change things. Someday. The basilisk was still a problem. With Ginny freed from the diary's control, it had retreated to the chamber, but it was still alive. Still dangerous. And without someone actively controlling it, it might become even more unpredictable. "We have to kill it," Harry said to his inner circle, Ron, Hermione, Daphne, and now Neville, who'd proven himself trustworthy over the past months. "Leave it alive and it's just waiting for the next dark wizard to take control." "How?" Ron asked. "You said even the salamander thinks you can't beat it alone." "Alone, no. But I'm not alone." Harry looked at each of them. "I need your help. All of you." "What's the plan?" Hermione asked. "First, we find the entrance. I've been tracking heat signatures. There's a concentration of cold-blooded energy in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom." "Myrtle?" Neville frowned. "The ghost girl?" She died 50 years ago. Around the same time the chamber was last opened. Harry stood, energy crackling around him. I think she was killed by the basilisk. If we can get her to tell us where she died. We find the entrance, Hermione finished. Brilliant. And then what? Daphne asked. We're still first and second years against a legendary monster. Then I talk to it. Silence. You, talk to it, Ron repeated flatly. I'm a Parselmouth. The basilisk was bred by Slytherin, raised to obey Parselmouths. Maybe I can convince it to stop. Or at least distract it long enough for an attack. That's insane. Probably. But I don't see another option. No one argued. Moaning Myrtle was surprisingly helpful once Harry explained he wanted to avenge her death. Oh, it was horrible, she wailed, floating in circles. I was in this very bathroom, crying because Olive Hornby had been teasing me about my glasses. And then I heard a voice, a boy's voice, speaking words I didn't understand. I opened the door to tell him to go away, and then I died. Where were you looking when you died? Myrtle pointed at the sinks. Harry approached. At first glance, they were ordinary. But then he found it, a tiny snake carved into one of the copper taps. He focused. Felt the Parseltongue rising in his throat. Open. The sink began to move. The Chamber of Secrets was cold. Harry led the way, fire blazing around his hands to light the darkness. Ron, Hermione, Daphne, and Neville followed, wands drawn, faces set with determination. They passed through tunnels lined with carved serpents, through a massive door that opened to Harry's hissed command, into a vast underground chamber dominated by a towering statue of Salazar Slytherin. And coiled before the statue, golden eyes closed in sleep, was the basilisk. It was enormous. 60 feet long, at least, with scales that gleamed even in the dim light. Its breath was visible in the cold air, great plumes of vapor that filled the chamber. Nobody looked directly at it, Harry whispered. Reflected gazes only. Hermione, the mirrors. Hermione passed out the small mirrors they'd prepared, conjured glass that would let them see the basilisk without meeting its eyes. Harry, Daphne breathed. That thing is massive. Are you sure about this? No. But we're here now. Harry stepped forward. Everyone stay back. And be ready. He approached the sleeping basilisk, fire growing brighter around him. Wake, he hissed in Parseltongue. The great head rose. Golden eyes opened, reflected in Harry's mirror, they were beautiful and terrible, ancient and deadly. A speaker, the basilisk hissed. It has been long since a speaker walked these halls. You've been killing students. I obeyed my master's commands. The girl with the dark book. She bid me hunt. I hunted. She was possessed. Controlled by a piece of Voldemort's soul. The basilisk's tongue flicked out, tasting the air. The pale one. Yes. I remember his scent. He came here, once, long ago. Before you. He sought my service. He's dead now. The diary is destroyed. You have no master. Then I am free. The basilisk's voice held something like satisfaction. Free to hunt as I please. Free to feed. No. Harry's fire flared. I won't let you hurt anyone else. If you want to live, you'll leave this place. Go into the wilds, far from humans. Never return to Hogwarts. The basilisk laughed, a horrible hissing sound. Little speaker. You think to command the king of serpents? I am older than your bloodline. More powerful than your flame. You cannot, Harry attacked. He didn't hold back. Every technique he'd learned from the salamander, from Flammel, from months of training, he unleashed it all. Fire erupted from him in a concentrated stream, white-hot, aimed directly at the basilisk's face. The basilisk reared back, screaming. Its eyes slammed shut against the searing light. "Now!" Harry shouted. His friends attacked. Hermione launched her most powerful hex. Ron conjured ropes to tangle the thrashing body. Daphne used obscure Slytherin curses she'd learned from family tomes. Neville, brave, determined Neville, charged forward with a conjured spear. The basilisk fought back. Its tail whipped through the chamber, shattering pillars, sending debris flying. Its jaws snapped at attackers it couldn't see, missing by inches. Harry pressed the assault, fire pouring from him endlessly, burning through the basilisk's magical resistance through sheer overwhelming force. But it wasn't enough. The basilisk was too strong. Too old. Too magically powerful. Enough. The psychic roar staggered everyone. Harry stumbled, his concentration breaking. The basilisk lunged. Time slowed. Harry saw the massive jaws opening, the venomous fangs gleaming. He saw his friend scrambling back, too slow. He saw death coming for him. And he made a choice. He reached deep, past his controlled flames, past his natural magic, into the dark core of Fiendfyre that Voldemort had left inside him. "Yes," something whispered. "Yes, let us out. Let us burn. Let us consume." Harry opened the door. Fiendfyre erupted. Not golden flames, black and red, twisted and hungry, screaming with voices that weren't human. They poured from Harry's hands, from his eyes, from his mouth, wrapping around the basilisk in a spiral of unstoppable destruction. The basilisk shrieked. Its scales, impervious to normal magic, melted under the cursed flames. Its ancient body, immortal through millennia, began to burn. Harry felt the fire trying to escape his control. Trying to spread. Trying to consume everything, his friends, the chamber, the castle above. No. He clamped down with everything he had. The salamander's training. Flamel's discipline. His own desperate will. This far and no further. The basilisk dies. Nothing else. The Fiendfyre resisted. Fought him. Screamed its frustration. Harry burned hotter. Brighter. He wasn't just controlling the flames, he was becoming them, merging with the elemental force, asserting absolute dominance. "I am fire. I am the primal flame. And you will obey." The Fiendfyre subsided. The basilisk was dead. Nothing remained but charred bones and ash. Harry stood in the center of the chamber, breathing hard, flames slowly returning to their normal golden color. His friends stared at him in horror. And awe. "Harry," Hermione whispered. "What was that?" "Fiendfyre." Harry's voice was rough. "The curse Voldemort used the night my parents died. It's been inside me all along. I just, let it out." "Let it out," Ron repeated. "You let out the uncontrollable death fire and then, controlled it?" "Basically. That's mental." "Yeah." Harry looked at the basilisk's remains. At his hands, still flickering with diminishing flames. He'd won. They'd survived. But he'd crossed a line tonight. Used magic that was never meant to be used. The question was whether he could cross back. The rest of the year passed in a blur. The basilisk's death was reported to Dumbledore. Harry gave an edited version of events that emphasized teamwork over his personal use of dark magic. The headmaster looked at Harry with complicated eyes, knowing more was being unsaid. "You've done a great service, Harry," Dumbledore said. "The chamber is cleansed. The attacks will stop." "The diary was a Horcrux," Harry said bluntly. "You know what that means." Dumbledore's expression flickered. "I have suspicions. Voldemort made more than one. He's got anchors. He can't die until they're all destroyed." "That's a theory, Harry." Unconfirmed, I felt it. When I burned the diary. The soul fragment dying. Harry met Dumbledore's eyes. I know what I felt. And I know what I am. Silence. The scar, Dumbledore said quietly. You believe it contains. Yes. Dumbledore looked old, suddenly. Tired and sad. I had hoped to spare you this knowledge. To let you live normally as long as possible. I don't want normal. I want the truth. The truth is often more burden than blessing. It's still the truth. Harry stood. I'm going to find the other Horcruxes. I'm going to destroy them. And when Voldemort returns, because he will return, I'm going to be ready. And your scar? I'll find a way. The fire inside me burned away his possession once. Maybe it can burn away everything he left behind. Dumbledore studied him for a long moment. You've changed, Harry. This past year has hardened you. I've learned. There's a difference. Is there? Harry didn't answer. He left the office, fire flickering in his wake. The train ride home was quiet. Ron and Hermione sat with Harry, but there was distance now. They'd seen what he could do. What he was willing to do. Harry, Hermione said finally. What happened in the chamber, that scared me. It scared me too. Are you, okay? Harry thought about it. Really thought. I don't know, he admitted. I did something I swore I'd never do. Used magic I can't fully control. And I'd do it again if I had to. What does that make me? Human, Ron said. It makes you human. You did what you had to do to survive, to protect us. That's not evil. That's just, being in an impossible situation. Maybe. Definitely. Ron's voice was firm. Look, mate, you're scary. Really scary. But you're also my best friend. That doesn't change because you can burn things real good. Despite everything, Harry laughed. Real good? Very real good. Like, terrifyingly real good. Ron grinned. Honestly, the look on that snake's face. Priceless. Hermione rolled her eyes. You're both impossible. But she was smiling too. Platform 9 3/4 was crowded with families reuniting after the school year. Harry said goodbye to Ron and Hermione, exchanged meaningful nods with Daphne and Neville, and walked alone toward the Muggle side of King's Cross. The Dursleys weren't there to meet him. He hadn't expected them. He stepped out into London, summer sun warm on his face. Another year survived. More battles won. More lessons learned. And ahead, always ahead, more challenges waiting. Voldemort was out there, fragmented but persistent. Other Horcruxes existed, hidden in places Harry didn't yet know. Political enemies gathered strength in the shadows. And the power inside Harry, both blessing and curse, continued to grow. But Harry wasn't afraid. He raised his hand, letting a small flame dance across his palm. Golden light, controlled and warm. Fire was dangerous. Fire destroyed. But fire also purified, illuminated, protected. Harry would be all of those things. Whatever came next, he'd be ready. The flame flickered, then extinguished. Harry walked into the summer, alone but not lonely, powerful but not lost. The boy who lived. The Lord of Flames. And whatever else he chose to become. Far away, in a forest in Albania, a shadow stirred. The boy grows stronger, Voldemort's wraith thought, filled with hatred and hunger. He carries my fire. He destroyed my diary. He killed my basilisk. But he is still mortal. Still limited. Still tethered to the flesh. I am patient. I have waited 11 years. I can wait longer. And when I return, When I am reborn in a body of blood and bone, I will reclaim what is mine. The primal flame will burn for me. Or it will burn the boy who stole it. Either way, I will have my victory. The shadow dissolved into the darkness. But the threat remained. Waiting. Growing. Preparing. The war was far from over. It was just beginning. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.